Welcome to episode 260 of the FReality Podcast. On today's podcast, we've got a bunch of games to talk about. It's Batman, Hitman, Arizona Man, and Metro Man, to name a few. Let's not forget the favorite headliner, Spatial Girl. There's a few bits of news to catch up with, so here's the roster for that. First up, our private investigators tracked down the used car salesman who used to push Pimax products, and we've got the scoop for you. Big Screen and Meta both want you to be able to watch saucy internet rom-coms together, and now you can. Bhaptics are launching a few new products, so we'll rumble and rummage through each of those. Hello Games keep one-upping the competition, and have a feature we've been begging for years to have. And VR chat lovers, we'd forgotten about you, and we are so sorry. Do you remember the Devouring, Rowdy?
I do. I remember the name. Like what?
So this was the one where...
Yes, exactly.
Like the piano and the books and the dining room tables. Very kind of Halloween-y.
That was great, yeah.
And 6 hours long. Well, if you love bullet hell, VR chat lovers, we've got a follow-up VR chat game for you to try out. Coming soon. Putting the bow on this VR gaming present of a podcast, our grand train conductor Jose will be tackling releases to cover the latest game launches a bit later on in the show. Tipping my hat to Jose there. All his good release work. Next up, it's on to our usual show and tell section. It's time for crew highlights with Adam, Rowdy, and Jose. Well, Adam's been doing her level best not to drown. Not drown in work, not in VR, and not in whitewater rapids. How's Not Dying been doing, Adam? And what's your highlight this time around?
Not that bad. But I did want to actually first bring up an older highlight that happened before we did the Human Fall Flat podcast episode, pre-recorded, whatever you want to call it. And that was, I actually got to finally meet Rowdy in person. I've met everybody now, both current crew and past crew with Mike and Nathy, various events, whatever. But I finally got to meet Rowdy. He had to stop by California a little bit for work, and so I was like, I gotta jump on that opportunity. So I got to meet him and his wife, and my husband came along as well, and it was really nice. We had ate at a nice place close to the beach, and I was like, yes, check that one off my list.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to meet you both. But like, it's a very cool place where you live as well. Like, it's so, I don't know, everything is so chill, everything is so nice, the weather is so great. So it's a very different side of the US I hadn't been to yet, at least, which is really interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we went not Rowdy and I, but like I just went kayaking in November, so I guess if that's any indication of decent weather, I don't know what is.
Wow, that's not fair. That's just definitely not fair. Kayaking in November. You say that to like a Scottish person, and it's like full body suit, like to even just touch the water, even the burly guys. Oh my God.
But speaking of kayaking, I did take like the last 3 days to just do I say 3-day kayaking trip, which sounds like I was kayaking 24/7 all day, but it was just, we did one different like location each of the 3 days. But it's still cold, like California cold, so we wore wetsuits and whatnot. But it was super fun. We stopped by a place on the way to where we were staying, because I have this weird goal thing where I want to kayak in 50 different locations before I die. So I'm at 10 now. Wow. We're on our way. But it was fun.
You're allowed to drown.
It started last week.
Oh, yeah, the drowning part.
Kayaking like this year, or that?
Yeah, this year, February.
Wow. That's awesome.
I really went into it. I knew I'd like kayak VR, but then once I actually got to do it in real life, I just
But you can't swim, right?
No, I can. That was why I learned to swim, was because the first 2 times I went kayaking, I was like, you should probably fucking learn how to swim if you're going to really get into this. And so then, I took a private adult swim lesson for...
That's awesome.
So do you have specific milestones then, Adam? Is it like, when you reach 50, it's like kayaking in molten lava in an active volcano? Is that like the pinnacle?
Not that high. Just it has to be 50 different locations. So like if I go back to the same spot, that doesn't count as one of the, as an additional one, if that makes sense. But
Is
I did. Go ahead.
Is there an app to track? Sorry, just anytime someone sets a goal, it feels like there's always a mobile app to track. So is there like a kayak location?
Wow.
I got a little kayak
That's
logbook
cool.
journal. Yeah, I like writing stuff down. I don't know. I could probably put it on an app, but
I like the analog feel of it though.
Yeah, because
yeah.
then it feels like it's on paper now, like it's official. I can't, like, if I lose it, it's a bigger deal. But yeah,
The analog
I have been
feel of a
taking-
pencil? Is that what you're saying, Rowdy?
No, I'm saying it's nice to have something analog. I mean, you can still like take a picture of it and put it on Instagram, right?
yeah, but it's not for Instagram, it's for me. So my writing looks like shit in it,
sure.
and it's pretty awful.
But that's the best part. Like, I was really sad when we moved from like handwriting to just typing everything, because okay, you can put things in fonts, and if you pick MS Comic Sans or whatever, then you're going to hell. But for everybody else, like, it's just all the same kind of typed out. There's no personality in it. And that's why the written, even if it's all scribbles, like, at least that's personality. And I feel like we're going through a couple of layers of that, where even how we compose a letter, like, AI is going to just summarize it for us and put it in the same block of text, and what Adam says and I say are going to be the exact same, a couple of years from now. So I don't know. It's an interesting way that we've been kind of evolving communication, while at the same time kind of losing a piece of ourselves in the process. But I think it's going to be really funny to listen back to, like, 50 years from now, where like people have kind of maybe forgotten about pencils altogether, like pencils and pens and physical paper. Maybe it's illegal. Maybe there's a tax. You can't chop down trees anymore.
So down for that.
But that said, I have to agree with Rowdy, like, and what you're saying, Adam, because the feel of the physical, it feels right. Whereas, like, I've been toying with that Logitech pen that Meta sent us, and oh my god, this thing. The flow. I
don't want to use that for writing. More for
I can't get on with that. Can't get on with
Painting.
that at all. It's just like anytime I've ever used anything, even a Wacom tablet, like those, they never feel right. Like, I just want to like write my signature so that in an Adobe PDF I could apply my actual signature, and not something that I scrawled with a mouse that looks like a 2-year-old drew it.
Yeah.
But it's also like there's a certain fleetingness to it, right? Because like if you spill coffee over the book is gone. Or if you lose it, then it's gone. So there is this like, I don't know, like it's limited. Like if you upload it in the cloud, you always have it accessible. And it's the same thing what we discussed a little while ago about memories. If you capture every memory, is it still really a memory? I think that similar principle can be kind of applied here with like, if you write stuff down, it becomes more personal because there's a certain limited availability. You can't write everything down, so you need to pick and choose what you do. So it becomes a little bit more. There's only so much paper that you can logically store in your house that you still have access to without losing it. So there is, I think that is probably a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, on the tech side, though, I still use the Meta Ray-Bans very riskily on every like. I'm waiting for the one where it's like, oh, this is it. And I had a couple times this particular trip where I was like, that's it. My glasses are going to be gone. But somehow they've still stuck in there. There's like salt in the edges of the frame.
That's so cool.
I could probably get out. But I feel like if something does happen to them at this point, I've gotten my money's worth. Like, they've been out a lot. But the first time I almost lost them was when we were actually coming back in, because on most kayaking trips, there's like a dock or something that you get to, like cast off of. But this time we just had to go straight on the beach. So coming back, you sort of have to ride the waves back in and like just lean back and try to coast. But the wave we came in on was a bit bigger than I guess the guy anticipated. So we capsized. But luckily, because it was a sea cave tour, we didn't get to go in the sea caves because the tides were high. But anyway, we were wearing helmets. So I was so protective of the glasses that I used the fact that I was wearing a helmet to like protect the kayak. Because the kayak hit me in the head pretty good. I didn't feel it because the helmet, thank God. But I was just using that helmet to prevent my head from going underwater so my glasses wouldn't get ruined. I know. It's a very like bodily harm over technology. But
did the Ray-Bans record that?
They did, yes. Although it's very smooth, it doesn't look like we fell out as badly as I felt that we did.
Anytime
and then
getting
there
hit
was-
in the head does not feel stabilized, right? Like I remember getting hit in the head with a lunchbox that felt like I was just in middle school. It fell off and hit you in the head. I was like, I need the emergency room right now, please.
Do you want to talk about it, Zim? Is it like?
No.
Yeah, he really sounded
memory.
like that was like a deep scar that he just opened up in the podcast casually.
Oh my god.
I remember the exact shape of the lunchbox.
But the second time I thought that it wasn't going to work anymore. It was actually yesterday because it was really windy, probably a terrible time. You shouldn't be kayaking. Like there were, it was significant amount of waves hitting me from the front. So at one point I was like, oh, like I'll take a quick video, and it just did nothing. And I was like, oh, that's it. Like it's dead. It's not doing anything. So I tried. I think I turned it off, put it back in the case, put it back on. And then it took kind of an extra long amount of time to boot up, longer than it normally does. But then it worked fine, and I was like, "Wow!" Like I don't know how these glasses are still working despite all this shit, all this stuff I've been putting them through. But again, if anything happens to them, I know I'm doing something kind of stupid with them and risking them in water. But I've got my money's worth, and there's nicer frames now. So I can just
You'll
get an
have
upgrade.
earned the upgrade, right? Like
Yeah.
at that point. They're really cool though. I love your stories though, because like when I feel like I'm braving it, I do one of two things. Either I go out in like light drizzly rain and I'm like, ooh, they're gonna die, or I hand them to a child. That's the other side sometimes. So, or like I had one strapped to my kid. It was great. Anyway, I'll get to that another time. Cool, Adam. Very cool. Anything that you've played lately? Anything that you unless it's stuff that you think we're gonna cover today? then-
Pretty sure it'll be stuff that we're gonna cover, so
Okay.
I'll wait on that.
We'll
but
save.
everything. Almost.
Okay,
everything.
sounds good. Yeah. Definitely you can see you've been busy. All right, well Rowdy is finally settling down into his surroundings, covering himself in all manner of bright white electronics. And he finally feels home. Or does he? How you doing,
we
Rowdy?
never know.
That's
We
the
never know.
arrangement.
No,
Never know.
I've been doing well. Just back from a little bit of traveling as well. Yeah, that was great. I got to meet like some amazing people. I always find it like, and we all know that from like, sorry.
Adam was like so touched.
Get to meet some amazing
okay.
people. Thank you.
No, not there. No, I'm joking. It's no, I just always find it's like funny in a way of like how quickly you can connect with people that have like similar interests. I think that is something that we've all had, like when we went to connect and you just meet people that have like similar interests, and like how quickly that you get each other. I think that's something that always is so impressive. I think for us as human beings that we are able to do so. I've had a lot of fun. I'm happy to be settling in a little bit better, to get my stuff back. I'm back on a desktop computer as well, so that's kind of nice to do. Still got a lot of work to do. The place looks a little bit empty. It will probably look a little bit empty for a while, but we'll get there slowly for sure.
Yeah, well, the reverse view which he flashed to us looks pretty cool. You got a pretty slick like desk layout and the screen and even your speakers. What are your bookshelf speakers? What brand are they? They look nice.
They're actually, because like I used to do a lot of music, so they're from there still. So they're like studio grade speakers, so they're like flattened in terms of their frequency. So they're not great for like gaming and stuff like that, but they're like really great for audio production. I think they're Audio Technica. Yeah, they're reference monitors more.
Okay. Yeah, they did look like AT. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Really, really nice. And I saw a little picture of you slipping yourself into an Apple Vision Pro, I think.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I am
exactly.
Really curious about that.
Exactly. So I did at the place where I was, I did manage to like try out an Apple Vision Pro. It was a very nice guy who brought one of those devices with him, and I was able to try it out. And yeah, it was basically like I expected. It was very impressive. It was very clean, very easy to use. I didn't have a lot of time to experiment with it because we were doing quite a bit of work there as well. But what I saw was actually, was very impressive, and everyone was super excited about it as well. It's like I said, like people with similar interests, it's very easy to connect over these kind of things. And it always reminds me of that quote. I don't know if any of you ever read like the Pierce Brown Red Rising series. There's this quote from like Golden Sun that really stuck by with me. It's like friendships take minutes to make, moments to break, and years to repair. And that really just like always stuck by me, because I think it's so true that it's so easy to, if you have similar interests, you only need to share like a couple of minutes with each other, and you're able to like develop a real good friendship that you can then like really explore. But you mess it up, it can take a very long time to repair that, which I think is something that's very beautiful.
I actually, just cycling back to your earlier comment, Rowdy, I think the repair cycle on some of that sometimes isn't even the amount of time that's passed. It's actually, I think, the memory degradation. Like there's things that stung you 4 years ago that maybe no longer sting you as much, and you reevaluate and go, oh, I had this great friend. How did we fall out? Maybe I should reach out, apologize, and we can move on with our lives. But if you had the perfect memory, you might be like, no, feck that guy. Like, I'm not, I remember everything,
It's on forever.
Pain never faded. So very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm glad you're all setting up, and that's really great. So nice to hear you got your face in an AVP too. And speaking of people with faces in their AVP, Jose kicked off his shoes and slid into his personal theater for that Tyson Paul fight last night. How'd that go, dude? How are you doing?
Oh, dude. I mean, what I was able to see, because Netflix just decided to use like servers from 1995 apparently to broadcast this fight. So what I was able to see, much more impressive on an Apple Vision Pro compared to what I was seeing from people that were using the MetaQuest. They were advertising the fight to watch it on MetaQuest, but I heard the Netflix experience was on a web browser and you couldn't do much sharing. I was able to FaceTime call some of my family members that are really big on boxing, and we were all in a FaceTime group, and I'm on the Apple Vision Pro, so I'm streaming my desktop from Miami into my headset and broadcasting it to them. And
cool.
Perfect, I mean, the signal that I was streaming from was nice, but the actual stream of the fight was, skipping, but it was cool. Like in between fights, I was just streaming, old highlights of Mike Tyson and stuff like that, because my family's pretty big on boxing. So, we write down scores and we judge fights as we watch them. So it was really cool to do that outside of a laptop. And we usually do it, usually on a computer or on a tablet. So to be doing an Apple Vision Pro was pretty cool. And honestly, I've become like a Tim Cook super fan ever since I got this Apple Vision Pro. Like I've been actively trying to get over the honeymoon phase, but it's very difficult to get over something that's rapidly iterating, right? Just literally 4 days ago, there was a system update that made foveated rendering much better system-wide. And you can notice these subtle changes. And there is a sense of, oh, this keeps getting better. This keeps getting better. And I'm really sold on the iOS for XR experience that Apple created, to the point that I'm just anxiously waiting for a lighter model of this device, because I can't wait for recommending it to people and all leading up to, I'm talking about the experiences, about, connecting people together, which what makes, the point of XR powerful, but also singular content consumption, right? The fact that I'm able to really decentralize my home desk, having, my home desktop at home in Miami, being able to access my home network, my home server, the years of data archived on, hard drives that I have stored without having to bring it physically with me. I now have changed my perspective on how I travel. I now travel with devices that allow me to connect to that network seamlessly. So I have, my tablet, my Apple Vision Pro, my phone, and that pretty much has replaced, it gives me my desktop anywhere I am. So it's been super awesome to just travel, because I just found out that I'm not going home for like another 3 weeks. So
that's the thing that is so attractive about that, Jose. And actually, I was recently catching up with Nathi, because we hadn't spoken actually for quite a long time. We had that poolside chat with Adam in California. We said, let's get back together like the old days. We used to get together for a couple of hours. And he's so smitten with his AVP, and understandably so. But what you just said is exactly what draws me to that. Draws me like a moth to the flame, flaming $3,500 headset, and is all in one. Like a Quest is kind of annoying. You're like a crab in boiling water in that you don't realize how annoying it is until you step away from it or experience something different. Because it's like if I want to game with somebody, I'm on WhatsApp on my phone or making a phone call before I get in the headset. And then if I want to do anything with my PC, there's a PC involved as well. So you're like, it's like 2 or 3. It's an add-on headset. It's like it's an accessory almost. It's not an all-in-one. Do everything in this one place. It doesn't have the compute power for it, right? So that's really cool to me. And it's funny. It's really sad. I'm just going to repeat off after Rowdy's first experience of the AVP. Even just window shadows, even just the user interface, like the stuff that the Quest doesn't do particularly well. Like the thing that still bugs the feck out of me every time I put my headset on is I put my window here and I've got real monitors here and here and here. And then the second I boot it up or whatever, it puts it overlaying one of my monitors. And I'm like, I don't want it in front of something else. You remembered my Guardian. Why can't you remember the relative position of the window? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Clearly the system has that information in it. They just didn't choose to program it that way. And then even within the window, I'll just make one last. Even within the window, you're like, what is in the middle pane, the left pane, and the right pane is never the same. It's always it's like there's no muscle memory to it. So I know I made that point before, but those things right now are like major frustration points for me, and they're every single time I'm in the headset, not like, every other time, once in 10, it's every single time.
Yeah. The what I wanted to add about the Apple Vision Pro that I think it's a lot of people, it's very hard to conceptualize and talk about. It's the ability to stitch multiple computing endpoints into a cohesive experience. And the best example that I can make is Windows on a laptop with a touchscreen. Windows on a laptop touchscreen, you can pretty much anywhere that the cursor can click, so can your touch input, right? It's pretty much one-to-one. What the Apple Vision Pro did very well is that it emulates touchscreens to the point that if you're connected or remoted in to a virtualized Windows 11 or you're remoted into your Windows 11 desktop and you tell, for example, Moonlight app that, hey, this is a touchscreen monitor, so Windows is now overlaid as a touchscreen. So you can actually now move the cursor with your eyes. So you stare at the start button, you pinch, it opens up the start button, you open up a file. They translated the mouse cursor, the most native input on a computer. They were able to emulate it with your eyes and finger pinch in such a way that if you were to, let's say, pair a mouse to your Apple Vision Pro, you can now glide your mouse in between multiple endpoint screens that you're connected to. So let's say you have
cool.
You have your iPhone streaming on one side, you have your desktop on one side, you have your Steam Deck on another, and you happen to have the Twitter app open on the headset. You can seamlessly move your mouse in between them. You can move the panes. You don't have to ever let go of the mouse. Or you can stare and pinch. The best way that I describe the Apple Vision Pro, it's a physical evolution of VMware applications that you install on your computer to run virtual machines that create bridges where the virtual machine feels deeply connected to the computer. That's what the Apple Vision Pro does on a spatial.
Does it get because with the eye tracking, the one thing eye tracking on any headset like PSVR 2, Apple Vision Pro, does it ever get like tiring to operate that way, or have you gotten past the point where like the input between where I look and what I want to do is not always the same, right? So I was finding just in my like 30-40 minute demo of the AVP, it felt like a bit of a resistance barrier. Now that you've had it and had this experience for over a long period of time, is that just totally natural to you, or do you still feel that gravel?
I mentioned it last podcast that we spoke as a joke, where I said like I was feeling like muscles of my eyes were flexing. I actually, as funny as it sounds, I do feel more cognitively aware when I'm using the Apple Vision Pro. There has been moments where I actually catch myself going like, whoa, I'm spatial computing here, like where I don't realize that I'm not even using the mouse anymore. I'm just staring and pinching. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm using my desktop. And I just grab the mouse out of habit because I'm aware of it. So I do think there is a sweet spot where you eventually will forget about the fatigue and all that. But I think it's all that all comes down to weight. at this point, it's really hard to know how much of I'm making an effort here because of the weight. Because you do end up, adjusting it after a little bit to make it a comfortable, cohesive experience. But the weight still is a real factor here that I think lighter weight will eventually make eye fatigue less because you're, less, I guess, muscles are being stressed out.
Speaking of weight, we saw Mike Tyson's butt.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah,
that was an interesting pan. It was like, what am I looking at here?
Yeah.
Listen, at HDR, 4K, right up in your face. It's a sight to behold.
Dimple.
Yeah. Oh, listen.
I'm so sad that he lost, but not surprised. I mean, well, he's like 58, and Jake Paul's like 27 or something. But it would have been so satisfying if you just like kicked this young kid's ass. I feel like an old person in the back being like, "Yeah, kick his ass." Damn young people, cocky young people.
The thing is, and this was about the whole. Now, my family sat down. My wife had never seen boxing match before.
Wow.
My son Denver watched this as well, and he'd never seen it before. I've watched a few, but I wouldn't watch boxing very often. But it was a big event, and I kind of like Tyson's history as story. Some of the things he says. Wouldn't have said that biting a chunk off of someone's ear was the right thing to do. So we'll totally feel, but he's kind of an inspiring guy. All those things considered, and I feel like the entire stadium was there in a very and Rowdy might appreciate this. Tool have a song which they talk about shield down, like you're this like old soldier who is still trying to soldier through, and I feel like he was representative of like we wanted the legend to come back to prove that we're all kind of somewhat immortal and we don't like the test of time, like you still get that spirit to fight and you can still be a fighter. So I felt like the entire crowd was there to see Tyson at least knock Paul Jake on his ass.
He would have deserved it.
Yeah, I think there was a bigger crowd that wanted to see Jake Paul get beat down than Mike Tyson. It could have been anyone.
Oh yeah, I was totally rooting for Tyson, absolutely.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, I felt like there was a fair amount of respect between the both guys. The three fights that came before it were all really entertaining.
Yeah.
And it was a really good show. Actually, it was just super. It was much longer than I was expecting because I said to my wife, I was like, this will be over in 15 minutes. And I was like, oh wait, there's 3 other fights. Oh, and this one's 6 rounds and that one's 12 rounds. And it was like
if you've ever done Thrill of the Fight too, you're just like, holy shit, these are like long. You don't realize how long the rounds are until you're in
it. Yeah.
Fighters, so we're like gassed after like 10 seconds, and you're like, how much longer are we here?
Thrill of the Fight's really good, but I think the one that really made the time length of a ring fight feel really. I think the most accurate was the Creed. Creed, Rise to Glory. That's the one that I feel like they really managed to get the ring time experience really, really well, because that's something that as I mentioned earlier, my family's really big in boxing, and that's something that we talk about a lot. It's not really about strength; it's stamina, right? You actually earn the full bounty if you actually last all those the entire session.
Rounds,
if the fight would have ended in 1 round, Jake Paul would have made like probably 20 million. Mike, even if Mike would have knocked him out within a knockout victory, it would have been like half 10 to 20 million max, because it didn't go the full spectrum of the fight. There's contracts in place.
Just 10 million. Yeah. Oh, what a bummer.
Well, Jake Paul made 40. So the fight, he made 40, Mike made 20, just by simply standing there. And that's exactly what it's about. Like the fight finished halfway through, but this was, hey, we got to make money at the end of the day. That's why we did all this. They went cheap with the servers for a reason, right? Everybody, they want to make all of that money back.
Prices recently, and then you get shitty buffering. It's like, what the hell's going on?
I think they just maxed out, because it seemed like what they were doing was quality tuning down, because the bitrate was pretty poor coming through. But I wouldn't. Again, I think making those. It's a very big deal to deal with a live event at that scale, and the amount of bottlenecks that exist out there in the pipeline. Like, honestly. Yeah, I thought it was really well produced. Aside from the Tyson butt shot, I mean, they had a lot of good camera angles. Highlight. But they did have a huge miss. There was actually your highlight, huh? They did have a huge miss in that the same technology, and in particular that Meta Quest was shown there on the bars and the railings. You might be wondering, hey, why are you guys talking about this? Well, Meta were partnered with them. They clearly put advertising and marketing money in, but then there was no spatial camera setup to watch the match. And
That was
I can't
weird.
think of a better way. Like, I've seen Mark Zuckerberg on a stage in Horizon Worlds in such detail that I'm like, he feels like he's right there. I feel like I'm in California again. And that same crew could have rocked up and shown us the fight, the depth of the ring. And there's
That
something
was
that you
so
pick up in
sick.
these flat cameras only when the fighters sit down, which is
Too expensive.
like, you get to, I know it's
Yeah,
too
I was just-
expensive and it's too complicated a setup, but because it was like 12 million or something like that, I think, to shoot the Meta Connect or whatever. It's like those cameras are like $1 million a pop. They're really expensive. But the point is, it's not like, it's for what audience, right? It's like, okay, we're going to set up these 12 cameras and that's going to be for 70,000 people, here, and then 1 million people at home watching. And then for 200 people, we're going to set up this other setup. But the point being, we're going to get to a point where the camera equipment, where that balance swings and this becomes mainstream, and you're going to be able to see people in a much more human way. Because like, I feel like when you're watching a match, even when they're zoomed in quite tightly, you don't get to see the exhaustion in their faces until they sit down. And then you see them sit down and you're like, holy shit, they are beating the hell out of each other. They're totally exhausted. And you
You don't
finally
get the
get to
sweat
see
and
them.
blood flying off on you
Yeah.
effect.
Man,
It's like every
The
time
lady
there's
who-
like some like wipe in the camera.
Oh, that's so good. Wiping
but
my
I look
eyeballs.
forward to that. I look forward to being able to, participate in a ringside event like that and see that kind of human element, because we get it in a lot of the cinematography that is there in VR films and VR filmmaking. Like The Soloist, for example, you saw Mark Honold climbing this amazing rock face with no straps or anything on him, and he's there climbing up past this big chunk of granite, and you look down, you're like, this guy can fall to his death. And then you understand why his girlfriend or wife like leaves him in the middle of the shoot, because she's like, I can't hack this, you're gonna kill yourself, like I'm out of here. And you really connect on that human level. So yeah, that fight was cool. I'm sorry Tyson didn't win, but yeah, it was great to see it. If you're watching it back, it's really good fun. I was a big fan of the Barrios guy. He looks like Vega from Street Fighter. He looks like, he's almost like really long, lanky arms and has a great like jab and stuff. And I was like, damn, I was like rooting for him.
Yeah,
With
that
my
was a
wife
good
being
fight.
rocked up in baby pink. It was amazing. But it was that was the fight of the night. I thought it was the two kind of part Mexican guys fighting. Was
I
amazing.
like the women's fight. The women's fight was my favorite.
Oh, I
Serrano was my favorite. You couldn't. That's actually the fight I tuned in for. Like my whole family, we've been talking it for months. Yeah, it was that I was crying. I'm not going to lie. Like that was a stolen fight. That was Serrano's fight. Yeah, a lot of energy there. But
stolen twice.
Yeah. But I wanted to mention this. I love what you're talking about the immersion, and I wanted to add a quick other highlight is
Sure.
I did the weekend's open heart immersive spatial.
I wanted to ask
music
you
video.
if you've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. How was it?
It's the future of content consumption truly is injected into your eyes. I think that whatever we can do to just remove as many layers and just go straight to the brain as possible. It's escapism.
Just to recap, in case we didn't intro that. So that's Apple Vision Pro.
Correct.
It's media by the music artist The Weeknd.
Correct.
And what was it? Was it a music video or like a behind the scenes? What was it?
It's a music video. So it's filmed in 180 degrees immersive, fully edited and immersive, CGI and live footage, all stitched up into a gorgeous cinematic, about 2 to 3 minute experience. Probably one of the best immersive music videos I've ever seen. The audio syncing, the CGI to live capture. There is I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie. Oh man, I forgot the movie. Inception, where there is a curl of the earth scene.
Yeah.
There is a powerful immersive version of that where you're riding down the road and you actually feel the road curling under you up, and you actually can see the ground lifting under you because you can look around. It's surreal. It's surreal being able to see the Weeknd in your face, up close, seeing the sweat drops. Like Adam was explaining, like being able to see the impact debris from what you're watching, like hitting your eyes, being around. It creates atmosphere unlike anything I've ever seen, especially with HDR mixing in there. So the dark lights look really dark. In fact, that immediately, it was like a little gateway drug because I saw that and immediately I ended up spending like 2 hours on Apple TV Immersive. I saw the Submerged Experience movie,
Yep.
which is
See
it's a
that.
tank. Yeah, it's
You're making me so frustrated.
I know.
So frustrated because like
Stupid.
this is in the VR space. This is the blue balls moment. This is like I can't.
Yeah.
I need that headset because
Really is.
music and immersive like theater, cinema, all those experiences are things that I appreciated so much all the way back to like DK1, DK2 days. And I always had the equipment to do it and all that. And now it's like I feel like it's like a price wall, paywall, you know. And it's like I want to make
it's a generational leap.
You're making me want to make the excuse to
Yeah,
buy
it
one.
is truly it is truly a generational leap, and Apple is doubling down on that because their Apple testing sessions that they're doing demos at the stores, it is now the Open Hearts music video. Apple truly understands that these are the tools to sell these headset. I actually been talking to one of my female coworkers in my team who is a very big Swiftie, like Taylor Swift super fan. And I can't stop. And you know, this is something that they've been telling me. It's like I've been getting screenshots of like the music video feeds. Like Apple, like the Taylor Swift concerts have been for a while being recorded in immersive video, but there hasn't been any. They haven't been confirmed that they're releasing it. But after this Open Hearts music video, it's obvious that that's going to happen. And one of the things that the reason I'm bringing this up is I talked to them. $3,500 is not enough to. It's probably enough to convince you to go to the Apple Store and do the experience, but it's not enough to convince maybe a mom to buy you a headset until you start talking about the realities of tickets for a Taylor Swift concert or the Weeknd concert. The tickets are, you know, $1,500 to $2,000, and once you start pricing in the value of an experience, and then you start noticing that Apple, for example, is making like Rowdy mentioned, these expensive cameras are being given to these artists in order to offset those costs. So there is a financial, I don't want to say it's an affordability, it makes it affordable, but at least there's a financial justification there where I start thinking about, okay, maybe $1,500, 2 people plus a plane ticket or hotel. Now you're looking at $3,000, $5,000 in the aftermarket for Taylor Swift. $3,500 makes sense, and you can watch her however many times you want.
It's really funny that you make that point. And I don't know, Rowdy, I know you're a fellow Tool fan, but a friend of mine who's a fan of that, they're like, oh, did you know they're doing Tool in the Sand? It's a Dominican Republic like music experience, but tickets are like, because you're basically booking a room for 4 people or whatever. It's $5,000 for, you know, a room, the paid vacation, then a 3-day concert basically with, you know, Tool headlining. And so what you're saying there, Jose, is that there is a tipping point, and I do think that if Apple come out with their V2 AVP and it's $1,500, that type of thing will sell. That singular differentiating point, because it's like, so, I can't get there, but I can bring them to me. Yeah.
So I mean, I do think that there is value in there. I don't think that it will become the norm. I don't very much like people are still going to movie theaters to watch movies there because it's an experience. I still think that there's, you know, like going to a theater or going to, you know, even if it's a smaller theater hall or going to the movies or going to a concert, there's a certain charm in there that I think that you will not be able to capture in a headset. I think it's for a niche audience. I think that will work great. But I don't think it will be like the norm in the future.
Why are you using the word niche there? Because I feel like it's the opposite. It's like if you had a funnel picture, right? More people wouldn't be able to attend in person. And so this kind of chews off that middle layer where it's like medium price for a medium level experience. And I agree with you that there will still be a need for the in-person human experience, but probably priced to a point where it's more exclusive. So why would you use the word niche for that? You don't see that this kind of technology, you know, 5 years from now would be eaten happily, that middle layer?
I'm saying niche because I think that it will be competing with more general platforms like, for example, YouTube and just watching it on there. I think that the majority of people, just because of the ease of it, will prefer to just watch it on their TV or watch it on YouTube instead of like going into a headset and getting that. Even though they get a much better experience in there, I don't think that a lot of people will go for that experience specifically, unless that barrier to entry is far, far more reduced.
I think I really want to push against it because this is exactly where my thought process was to very, very recently. We have to remember what XR also enables, and it's teleportation and hybrid scenarios. You're absolutely correct that there's going to be people either medically or by preference, they're not going to want to adopt these technologies. But they're going to be using tools that those who are going to adopt these technologies will be able to stitch the experience. There's going to be people that are going to go to the movie theater, they're going to sit down, they're going to be watching the movie, but they might be wearing a wearable that's going to allow them to sync the experience with somebody that they're next to and being able to see the movie at the same time. Right? If you remember early Oculus days where everybody was making concept demos, there were experiences where somebody's in a concert and they literally bring a hologram of somebody else next to them. Right? So that's what this technology enables. That's what I was able to do with the boxing fight. I was the only one with the Apple Vision Pro. I had a buddy of mine watching it on the TV. He happened to be on FaceTime connected to me. And one of them was watching it, on the tablet on FaceTime. So what I'm trying to say is, you're correct.
How does that disagree with what Rowdy's saying? Because it sounds like
it doesn't. It doesn't. That's what I'm trying to say is that there is an agreement there, but I don't think niche is the right word. Much rather, there's going to be a tool for communication for everyone. There's going to be the laptop ain't never going to go away. The XR glasses ain't never going to go away, but they're all going to be on equal footing. It's what I'm trying to say is that there is, just because one prefers one medium of technology doesn't mean the other one slows down or stagnates. It's what I'm trying to get at.
Interoperability, hybrid feature, and we get to experience these concerts how we want.
Yeah, because it's immersive monitors are truly something that you cannot replicate even on a physical setting. You just can't. You can't go to a movie theater and say, "Hey, this screen is going to come at you," unless you're going 3D. And if you're going to be going 3D, you're using spatial glasses. That means you can't go with HDR if you're using a projector screen. So there's a lot of barriers there that XR does solve that we can't ignore, that do make cinematic experiences better. So
I'll tell you, I'm glad we've talked the Apple Vision Pro because I didn't have much AVP stuff in today's show lined up. So we've covered that adequately. So thank you for that. Also, continue to please bait me into potentially buying an Apple Vision Pro. I think you will succeed at some point. And now that I feel like we've gone full circle, Rowdy, because we've now got like two Apple technology buffs on the podcast now, who are going to just act like a gravity well to pull the rest of us. Damn it.
Dude.
Damn it, Tim.
Say this. I don't want to add more to that, but I gotta say that this is the only Apple product I own. I owned an iPhone for a little bit, but this is the only Apple product I own. It's really weird. Like,
that's cool.
I'm waiting for
now,
right? Like, for now, that's who knows, right? Who knows?
Jose, that's even God, you're killing me, man, because that's exactly how I would want to use it. I don't want to replace all the rest of my ecosystem. I would want it to be a standalone device, and you keep fucking baiting me in with awesome 180 content.
Stop being so relatable.
And like that co-watching. Anyway, we're going to talk about that on the other headsets as well later. So first off, that's a lovely highlight from everybody. Thank you very much. Intros are now done, 50 minutes into the podcast. So I'm going to step on the accelerator. We're going to get through some news. Chat, thank you for coming to another live show. We aim to chug down on the best news across several landscapes, including VR, MR, so mixed reality, and the advent of AI technologies, in particular, where it's applicable to gaming. If we miss an important topic, never happens, or you just want to berate me for making you late to dance recital, then please have at it. We do pick up things from chat on occasion. Okay, my highlight. I haven't finished mine yet. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so I will try to keep this.
You chose 4 highlights.
You weren't supposed to. I've got okay. This is long-winded, but for good reason. It's been a month. Okay, there are 4 very different things. Okay. For my highlight, I want to shine a spotlight on an indie game that I've really enjoyed. and I think some of you would really love, especially if you want something short and sweet and kind of just something to try that you can do in less than an hour. All right, this game has some serious merit, and if you ever wanted to climb with yourself stuck inside a toilet, then this is for you. This game is called Crowbar Climber, and it features an inventive new locomotion method involving, you guessed it, a pair of Gordon Freeman's favorite utility blades, the crowbar, right? So you got like 2 crowbars. In equal measures, this game is colorful, joyous, and maddening because it's got a physics system whereby you've got these 2 crowbars and you're hanging off of like railings and launching yourself off of things. You can even swing back and forth and gain momentum before you jump, all that kind of stuff, right? But it's this specialized kind of climbing wall that you're faced with, and your job is to hook, swing, jump, and slide, because you get these like long bars that are going, and you can just hook yourself on it and literally slide almost like a zip line. And you have to go
raging just watching this. Like these kind of games make me so angry, and unfairly I blame the game. I'm like, that's fucking stupid game. It's the game's fault that I suck. It happens every time.
Gotta have some serious grip strength though. Jeez.
Yeah.
Holding on to slippery crowbars while you're sweating and sliding down this railing and all that. Yeah. So it's a very goofy version of like the climb. You could think about it like that, right? And you're progressing your way up this obstacle-laden mountain. If you recall, there was an indie game a couple years ago I mentioned on the podcast called With Loneliness, which was a really brutal Steam PC VR game where you were trying to get from point A to point B in this really dystopian world. You felt like a robot who was been rejected, and you were trying to climb your way back to the front door of the place. It felt really weird. But this is really cheap. It's like a tenner. It's worth the blast. I think you probably only get like 30-45 minutes of gameplay in the game end to end. So if you want something that's just short and sweet for your quest to entertain you and madden you for a little bit of time, there you go. That's that
10
one.
10 minutes of rage.
10 minutes of rage with Crowbar Climber. I thought it was really cute. It's really well done, and it's basically one developer. So hats off for yet another cool locomotion method. I'd love to see that come to other games as well. So that was my gameplay highlight. But I have a few other personal updates to share, just because we're catching up after a month away from podcasting, as we took a little hiatus to go on a team retreat to Human Fall Flat VR, which was fun. And some of you would have seen, I don't know, Adam dragging me to the abyss, or Jose grabbing onto my undercarriage as we hung off of a precipice near a castle. You can go watch that separately. That's separate to the podcast. What I did was I packed up Quest 2 that I had, and I sent it off to my brother in Ireland, who's now joining me for weekly golf and Golf Plus. And it's so weird because he's been so like, since our Counter-Strike Quake days when we were LAN gaming in Cork in Ireland, he's been like completely like anti-games. Like, I mean, hardcore anti-games. Like, doesn't allow his son to play games. Like it's like no games in my household kind of guy, right? And that was sad for me because I like grew up playing games with my brother. It was like a real bonding thing. He went off, became kind of a weightlifting buff guy, and then went off like professionally like cycling, and he's done several marathons and stuff. So he's a real like fitness dude now. But he hopped in, and he's been absolutely lapping it up. And I was like, I would have to do this next week if you don't want. He's like, no, we're going to meet next week. We're going to do this again. So he's like falling down the rabbit hole, and I'm seeing him fall down the rabbit hole. And I'm, of course, 10 years deep in this stuff. And he's just doing this for the first time. And I'm like, oh shit, man, it is such a good drug to have a friend or a family member who's enjoying it, and enjoying it so much that you can tell it's like enriching their life to a degree. And for us, it's like, it gives us a reason. Like we've been speaking, once in 8 months. It's really infrequent that we're talking. And that's partly because I'm a really busy guy. We're separated by 5-hour time zone difference. He's off in Ireland with his family. But it has been some of the most joyous gameplay, just flubbing balls in Golf Plus and just getting to meet up. And now we're going to get to have our dad join us because he was off on a vacation. And it's going to be the 2 sons and the father. And we're going to be playing.
That's right.
I love that. That's so wholesome.
Yeah.
So
Jealous.
It's I could not be happier. Like I'm like, this is like some kind of sick dream that this would even be possible. But the fact that both lads are enjoying themselves is just great. So I wanted to share that. But the reason I wanted to share that was because I think in the early days of VR, they really painted VR to be like this thing where, you're isolated. Like mainstream was like looking at it like, oh, you're going into your closet. You want to be away from people. It's
Putting
antisocial.
blinders on.
Yeah. And it's completely the opposite. And actually the selling point is it's so much easier and more natural to have a virtual phone call playing a golf game, speak naturally as if we were around the table with each other back home in Ireland. And we've literally struggled to kind of like have those phone calls because we didn't find like the right reason to call. The audio quality is better when it's like that spatial audio and someone's standing over your right shoulder, your left, or whatever. So like being able to have the reason to stay connected and then have all the technology support it is amazing. The one thing I will laugh about though in this space, one thing I laughed about with my brother was for a year and a half, my father was sporting breasts because he didn't know how to pick the right torso. And I would laugh at him every week, and I'd be like, "Dad, you gotta change. I mean, you got some nice knockers, but come on, Dad." And after a year and a half, he finally changed it up. And now my brother comes in, and he's set up his bed account, and he's like Mr. Clean. He's just this gray amorphous dude, and I'm like, you got to figure out how to customize so you look like you or look like anything but just this random character. So it's very fun. It's very fun to just enjoy technology. And so I had to share that with this group.
I love this.
Okay, so 2 other quick highlights. Sorry, I know this one's long-winded, but I did want to share these things. The other thing that I would say is for many years now, multiple years, I've had this idea of like taking a choose your own adventure book and turning it into like a video project. And I've seen other YouTubers do this, not very frequently. People like Jacksepticeye, Markiplier have done those things and with a huge budget or whatever. But I wanted to somehow have it nestle with VR. And I was like, So I had these ideas for a long, long time. And about 4 months ago, I started working on recordings for a project that involved what Adam loves doing, going out with the Ray-Bans and recording that way. More recently, Spatial Ops dropped and recording that and stitching this all together in kind of a choose your own adventure video, which I labeled Zim Your Own Adventure. And so it's 11 videos, all the thumbnails, the editing and all that, all stapled together into one big thing. It's by no means perfect, but it was such a big project to undertake. And sometimes, I've been doing YouTube nearly, I think it's like 15, 16 years now. Like there's things you want to do and you dream of doing, and then you go away and you do that. Like the next one we want to do is my wife and I want to do like a couple's argument and have, you as the internet chooser, you can decide what side of the argument you go down.
Hell yeah.
We do different things and have different outcomes, even outcomes where you die. Like, I think that would be really
all right.
fun.
I'm voting.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to bring that through this video series. It's not going to be as frequent because goddamn, it's a lot of heavy lifting
only
for
die once.
very poor performance from a YouTube perspective. But like the artist in me is like, let's make it happen. So
I'm more excited about a highlight reel of all the cuts of all like the you dying scenes. I want that highlight reel.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. So that's out on my channel, but I thought I would just mention that here. And then I caught a video somewhat related to that showed me a firefighter's point of view. So a firefighter in the middle of a burning inferno. And this thing in like 7 days has got like 8 million views. It's really, really rad. It's body cam footage of a firefighter inside a burning house. But the thing that I thought that would be really cool about this is when AI allows us to have those like dynamic environments that are really reactive, responsive or whatever, could be a couple of years, but whatever, this is coming. I thought it'd be really, really neat to have like a multiplayer firefighter game where we're all like, you can watch FReality save a burning school and save all the kids.
Watch Simulator, but for fires.
Dude, there's a game. Oh man, it's an arcade game. There was an arcade game that was like Time Splitters in that style that you actually hold a fire hose and oh man, I forgot the name of that game. And now I want that in VR.
I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly it. I saw this footage and I'm like, I want this in VR now, please. This would be really, really cool. And if we fail at saving the burning school with all the kids now ablaze, we can just send Rowdy to explain to the parents what happened, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I can do that.
Good. The doctor always has to come out, right, and do that part. So we'll leave the tough part
That
to
could
Rowdy.
be a Power Wash Sim DLC, a very depressing one potentially.
You're just like shooting water on the corpses of children. Oh my God, we're gonna get demonetized here. Anyway, so VR wise, after that whole choose your own adventure saga and seeing that point of view video, I saw Road to VR mentioned a project called Human Within. And Human Within is akin to Black Mirror's Bandersnatch. Bandersnatch was, again, a video project where you could influence the outcomes. And again, some successful outcomes, some less successful outcomes. That's really cool if you haven't experienced it on Netflix. But there's an interactive VR movie called Human Within that's coming to Quest next year. I think it's landing actually early January, like really early in January. So I don't know if this is going to land well. It looks very over-dramatized, the actors in it who are playing it. And then there's also a kind of a weird component that it's not just a 180 video or 360 video, but there's actually interactive like data blocks that you have to like connect, almost like if you imagine those puzzles you did in Half-Life Alyx. So the combination of these assets seems to be kind of kooky. Like, I don't think I'm going to like doing it, but I am curious to see how it plays out because we've seen some pretty fun, both successful and flops done in VR videos. I remember that Nicolas Cage one a few years ago that was particularly traumatic and terrible. But this one, because you're able to kind of influence an outcome, could be fun. And it's cool to see a new project that's different that other people haven't done yet. So
it wouldn't be a dramatic video without seeing someone throw something off of a desk in anger.
Exactly.
Feels very LA to me, to be honest. It does. Okay, so with that, the last little thing that I had that I wanted to share with you all, because I've been going on about it for months and months, and this has been dragging on forever, and Rowdy made the whole process look so easy, is that I finally got two things. I got my work permit formal extension because my exit from Canada date was the 13th of November. So I'm so glad that I'm here for today's podcast. But like, I got a 2-year extension, so till 2026 on my work permit. So that's the temporary thing. And then my permanent residency application, which I glued together all kinds of documents and medical exams and English exam and all this kind of stuff, finally submitted and off my shoulders. And all I have to do is wait 5 months for the government to tell me sometime in April 2025 whether we can stay as a family permanently in Canada or not. So the saga continues, but I get to stay for now. So
you should make that part of your choose your own adventure. Like you get deported.
Put me in a crate. Load the kids into boxes. Like, sorry, kids.
Yeah.
We're going to Jamaica.
Or the opposite, your kids pack you up. It's like, bye, Dad.
Oh God. So there's that. So anyway, I feel like I feel like I can breathe again. I'm really glad because I've had everything on limp mode, stream, podcast. Like I've just not been able to, like give my all to any of these things. So being able to do that again, big deal.
You have the best terms. Let's just not use limp mode ever again.
Everything in his life is just in limp mode right now. Everything. It's your poor wife.
I should have said limp along.
That explains. See, Rowdy, that's exactly why you have no problem with immigration. You don't hang in limp mode.
Yeah.
See, Rowdy is in stiff mode all the time, 24/7. You gotta learn from Rowdy. That's how you get immigration passed immediately.
We've had naked buttocks, stiff and limp all this podcast. Look at that. This is FReality. Okay, news real time. Let's go. Highlights behind us. It's time for the news. Finally, an hour in, and I'm only going to allow us an hour for today's show now, so we got to go. All right, first one. Let's start with the internet's most important news. Pimax's used car salesman was found by the internet pushing Temu ads. Thanks very much for Jose to spiking this to me. Joshua Pimax, as he's known by the VR community, used to feature in several promotional marketing videos by Pimax as they pushed out headsets like the 5K or 8K displays, and finally the Crystal before he departed and disappeared into the ether. So now we know what he's been up to. He's pushing ads for Temu, which I'm sure you all love, like me. And I'm glad he landed with people who seem right for him. I think it's a good hand-in-glove fit, to be honest. But I would also say that if there's any time travelers out there in our audience who need funding to go back in time and take out the folks who created Temu and all those annoying ads, please just speak with me after the show. Happy to fund.
So funny. It was such a great find. The pictures are terrible. The stills that they took from that, it just looks like so stoned or something. I don't know. Is he okay?
It's like bad timeline.
It's amazing though. I feel like there are a few people out there in the in the VR community who like just have a face and a name, and they might be famous for the right or the wrong reason, but it's just they've been there like as part of the cast for so long. I'm so glad we haven't lost touch with Joshua. I hope you're doing well, Josh, and I hope you don't leave our industry forever. I hope you'll come back to VR one day.
Maybe I'll see him on a Duolingo ad one day. I can only hope.
Yep. Beats OnlyFans. Anyway, so moving on to the next one. Hyperscape. There's a Hyperscape demo that's really rad, and it's kind of not being talked about enough, in my opinion. If you were interested in checking your Quest and seeing digital replicas of physical real-world areas, then this is for you. So Hyperscape is this, like, it's a demo, and it's really cool because they stream this high-fidelity content to your headset. Instead of loading your headset with, I don't know, a 50 gig file. And so you can step into a meta office. You can step into these areas where you've got like a jewelry maker, and you get to explore their studio, which is really, really rad because all the detail is there. If you're a car enthusiast, you can go and peer under the rims of like a Porsche that's sitting in a garage. And the best use case for this that I've found is if you take your Quest 3 or Quest 3S in particular, which deal really well outdoors. Obviously be careful with your lenses in the sun. But if you don't have a big space inside, go outside, do this demo. You do need a connection to your phone or whatever. So it does require like bandwidth because it's streaming the content. But then you can literally just walk around like you're in that space. And it feels like teleportation. It feels like a holodeck. And so this is called Hyperscape. It's the Hyperscape demo. Look it up through Meta's wonderful search engine. You'll probably have to strangle it and throw it around a bit before you actually get the demo. But grab the demo, check it out. It's got 6 scenes you can participate in. And it's even got these like little info nodes. So you can like walk around like Mark Zuckerberg's office and see the camera that, watches him throughout the day and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty rad. So have any of you checked that out, by the way?
I have, and I don't know if this has changed, but I know when it first came out, it was only available in certain countries, I think. I don't know if that's changed.
I think you're right.
So I don't remember which one specifically, but just as a warning.
Yeah. Look for it. Yeah. Okay. So that's Hyperscape. Next up, let's talk about some pure BS. Okay. I'm talking big screen cloud browser.
Oh.
What were you hoping for?
I don't know. Anything else?
More lib stuff.
And our podcast guest, Limp Bizkit. Okay, so big screen cloud browser. This is a new feature on big screen that allows you to pull up Netflix, Amazon, Plex, whatever you use right on the web, and watch together. And so Jose obviously whet our appetite earlier talking about AVP, watching the fight with family members and all that. This is a really cool way, whether you're co-located in the same space, or say your significant other or friend is like halfway across the country or in a different country and you want to watch something together, you can always like do that with big screen, but you had to like load the video files or have some source or whatever. This allows you, for example, to, rent a film or watch a film and be there in a cinema together, like Rift Max Theater way back in like DK1, DK2 days. Which feels great. You get the lighting, like ambience from the cinema. You get to pick the kind of environment that you're sitting in. And my wife and I, we watched Alien Romulus that way. And it was a really great way to experience this Alien film together. And we can still kind of see each other, our virtual avatars left and right of one another in that theater setup. But it was a more impressive display than our at-home TV. And it was seamless. And it is a paid-for service. So there's 2 options. You pay a small fee, $2 for the day for 24 hours. So $2 for 24 hours to stream whatever you want through the browser, which was fine for us because we're like, we'll rent the film, pay a little surcharge, watch in our headsets. The other option is $10 for 30 days. And again, I feel like both of those price ranges are super fair. It's a paywall for a feature, but it means you're only doing it the once, right? So you need one license or one copy to watch that together. And so that feels really good for 2 reasons. Number 1, this is a feature we've been wanting for a while. And number 2, it supports big screen in a somewhat sustainable manner, I feel. So I feel good actually being able to give them some money for their service, because until now it's been big screen beta, never paid them a dime, rock up, watch some episodes or something, with friends. So it's a cool way to do that where you don't need to be streaming from a PC or load the files on your headset. It's really, really handy. So I would recommend that to others. And then Meta, a few weeks later, released something very, very similar. So on their YouTube app, surprise, surprise, right? Those two have been warring for a while. The YouTube co-watching app or feature on the YouTube app appears like a little group button, like 3 little people. And what you do is you click this button and it pops you to your friends list, essentially. And so say Jose and I are friends and we want to watch something on YouTube together. I click the co-watching feature. He and I can watch a flat video, but in VR together, right? There's no 3D spatial SBS support right now. It's just watching flat videos, but together in VR. And it's obviously baked into the YouTube app. So that's really convenient. There's no charge for this. The only problem is, say Rowdy and I wanted to watch, Dune 2 together. Dune Chapter 2, whatever that was called. If I buy it in YouTube, like in the Google Play Store, then Rowdy would have to buy it as well in order for us to watch it together, which is not great. And that's where then the big screen option, I think, would be my preference. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's a really handy thing for us to be kind of mentioning these. So you've got big screen cloud browser, pay a little bit of money, watching your favorite mechanism, pay once for the thing that you're watching. Or YouTube co-watching, if you're just hanging out with some slow-mo guys videos, you want to hang with your buddies. But then you do have to be friends. So you have to be mutual followers on the platform.
You can only watch in like your home environment, right? Like you don't go anywhere with this. It's just
this one I haven't explored myself. So I'm only going off of what I've seen in the video. That's what I've seen. Yeah. You're kind of, it's kind of similar to Oculus Room days where you had a buddy come over and you could watch content together. So I'm glad I
do have a question. You said that you feel good giving them money. Do you feel good giving them money because there's no other experience, there's no other way to replicate this at the moment? Or is it because the big screen experience is missing this?
I'm saying it because I'm glad to pay into big screen because for years they've really been pioneers, like pushing their products. Started off with big screen. We got the big screen beyond, which is a headset you can pick up, which is laser-based tracking outside in, which I don't think is for me. I've not tried it, but it doesn't look like the thing that I would be interested in. It's a little bit too intimate, a headset, to be honest. More like swim goggles. And I like giving back. Like when a developer, for example, gives you a great game and has been giving you service for so many years, and you're like, just how do I pay you? And oftentimes they don't have a way, and they present you yet another thing that they're giving you. No. Again, that could have been free, but they're saying like, can I get a little bit of money back? I'm totally happy to give the kickback. That's why.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because like when I saw the app, that feature specifically with big screen, I saw this such a big opportunity to highlight Adam. I forgot the name of it. The camera tool that Liv is what's it called?
Liv Creator Kit, LCK.
The LCK, the Liv. Imagine if big screen would have taken a similar approach to the LCK and gave this web browser, unified web browser. They're just giving you a hosted VPN. That's exactly. They should make this as part of the core OS experience. And make imagine if you're playing Gorilla Tag and you just open up and say, hey, want to watch a tutorial real quick? And you could just sync with them, or you could be playing your games and now the web browser is cooked in. I wanted to
absolutely should be at operating system level.
Yeah, because the reason I'm saying this is as a techie, right? $2 a month versus $10 30 days. You could theoretically spend $25 and get ExpressVPN or NordVPN, which both have APK files. You can load it up to your Quest through SideQuest or any way that you load up APKs. Yep. And now you can enable the home VPN network and you can replicate this experience for a much affordable price. And now it's OS wide, right? Because now both headsets are in the same network, no matter where you're at. Right.
I'm trying to understand that you just explained it. I'm sure when I listen back, it's going to make sense.
Yeah. Sorry. I get ahead of myself.
Operating system level,
yeah,
you're basically joining headset A and headset B together on a virtual private network, kind of tunneled between the two headsets, irrespective of where they're located physically.
Yes.
But then, how are you watching something together, or how are you?
Now because the reason that both applications are forcing you to buy something is because it's IP locked, right? But the moment that you purchase something and you are under that IP address, then it allows both devices to watch it, unless there are sometimes device restrictions where they say, hey, you can't watch this both at the same time on this app. But if, let's say, if you're using big screen desktop sharing, now you're both in the same network, all of that is bypassed.
There's no way to, they're not sniffing out the MAC address of the technical device.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm following now. Thank you for explaining.
Sorry.
my pea-sized brain wasn't following there for a minute.
No.
So the one thing I just wanted to qualify, so big screen, paid for. YouTube co-watching, free, right? But it's free except for, like you said, there'll be an IP-based restriction on the content that you unlock. And unless Rowdy unlocks it and I unlock it, we can't watch it together.
Yeah.
Also, of course, it's a free video on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like this podcast. There you go. You can watch this podcast with your buddies now. With YouTube co-watching in your MetaQuest headset.
That'd be awesome.
Very good. Very good.
Our headsets would die first.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't get through a whole show. Sorry, it had to be said.
That's okay. It's all good. Now, we already talked about the Tyson stuff. So, Rowdy, if there's a little bit there, just some comments from, why am I forgetting? Heaney from Upload, right? Just talking about the missed opportunity. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. I'll just throw some props to Heaney. He always makes some really good points. I find that he regularly makes good points, and that's one I agree with, which is with the missed opportunity about the MetaQuest. Watch the fight, but have Spatial in there. So that was that. Okay. Speaking of Spatial, let's get a little bit more personal now with bHaptics. So bHaptics, I'll be honest, again, as a guy who liked his sub pack and not a big fan of the Wooger vest because it feels a little bit, I don't know, cumbersome or something. The bHaptics vest is largely set collecting dust for me. I'll be honest. So it's just not something that I reach for, even when I'm looking for like music or film. Like I used to grab my sub pack every time because I'm like, I want the thumps. It's just a little bit too cumbersome to set up, I find. So what they've got is they've got some new products launching. Okay. So they kind of like reshuffled their tech stack and they've tuned it. And this is like, I'll call it like a V2, or what I'm seeing is a V2 series of haptic vests. The one that's most exciting to me because it's the lower price point, and I think the right price point for a haptic interested user, is the TactSuit Air, which has 16, I believe it's 16 if I'm remembering correctly. 16 motors, right? In the front and back of the vest. And my argument for this is at $250, it's like the right price point there. It's less costly than your headset. So you're like, oh, it's accessory. It's an accessory. And the integration in particular, not so much with the Quest line, but with my PSVR 2 has been really quite good. Now they do talk a little bit of fluff here. It comes in a couple of colors. There's red and black and a white and black that Rowdy's showing. Thanks very much. But it's got, 12 hours of playtime, takes 2.5 hours to charge it. Just seems like a really nice, like entry level haptic vest. And honestly, for the kinds of apps that use it, bHaptics is it's a really good experience. It's a really well-rounded experience. I would equate it to like subwoofers. So a good subwoofer will sit in the corner of your room. That's the part of your audio equipment that gives the loud thumps, the low frequency bass, right? If you can hear the subwoofer audibly, like your side or rear speakers or whatever, generally speaking, you haven't tuned it right. Like you shouldn't really notice it. It shouldn't stand out. It's like the bass track in audio. It shouldn't like be in your face so much. And I find that if you've got more motors, heavier feedback, a lot of people want that or say they want that. But if it's the difference between paying, is it $500 for the 32 motor or 40 motor edition, Rowdy, which is the TactSuit Pro? Sorry, I didn't write the number down. Anyway, it's about double the motors.
Is let me check. $499, 32 advanced motors.
32. Okay, so many numbers. So 32 motors in that one. So it's kind of double the price, double the motors. I guess that's what they thought marketing wise would be smart. But I can say like having their other, advanced suit, it's good to have it, but like their intensity, if you think about the intensity that the thing can kind of reach, oftentimes you're running at like 25%, maybe 50%. One real design that I liked about this on their Pro Edition is they've moved the on-off switch, which used to be a button at the back of the device, to the front, kind of on the chest plate area. And now it does three things. It's the on-off, it's the intensity dial, and it shows you like a lit up display of how intense it is. Now that's not for you, I don't think, like looking down at your chest. It's more about people watching you and also selling the product. It's like, oh, I see him with that little, like what looks like an equalizer jumping up and down every time some bass is happening. So now I can imagine what's happening to him. And it's a much more realistic kind of representation of maybe I want one of those. I want to know what it feels like. And so
it's like
I think that's
the
a really
Razer
good marketing
lights on
trick.
headsets, right?
The what on headsets?
Like the Razer lights, like the Razer headsets. So like everything
chromatic.
is colorful. Exactly.
Yeah,
Probably
absolutely. So
similar
you've got
kind
the
of-
beat detection, and yeah, so that's really cool. I think they're moving in the right direction marketing wise. I'm glad they got the price point of the Air down. The Pro's there if you really want to go for it. The only thing that's still a real linchpin of bHaptics, I would say, is what games support it. My favorite would be Breachers. Breachers in a haptic vest like that feels feckin' awesome. Feels great. The other thing that I tripped upon this past week, which was a great experience, and I wasn't expecting it, a game that came out in February on PSVR 2 and other platforms, was Beat the Beats. It's another rhythm game, right? But very colorful in a kind of almost color-free environment at the start. And you've got this weird like hole in the ground where the boxes of the beat are coming at you, almost like they're attacking you. And you're having to punch them and uppercut them and all this stuff. But the coolest part about it, which is what was my best like haptic experience of the month, is they've got this, I'll call it a scarab that comes up out of the ground, this big long gray thing. Think Thumper, for example, and it flies past you. And much like the experience in Horizon, where you've got the big bird like flapping its wings in PSVR 2, and then you feel it ripple across your face because of the facial haptics on the PSVR 2. In this case, and this is the first time I've seen like a truly integrated experience, the thing is flying by you, just narrowly missing your face, and you feel the ripple in the haptics in the face that then continue down your body. And it felt like almost like a waterfall effect. And in the middle of like doing this, rhythm punching game, it was great. Really, really great. So if you pass that one up, but you like your rhythm games, definitely check that out. If you've got a haptic vest, that one works very well. The only thing that I would say that's very, very frustrating, and I still can't believe they did this, is that they don't just have one app. They have two apps, and it's kind of confusing at the start because they don't warn about it. They've got the bHaptics app. You can't see this.
Oh,
and then
that's
the
right. Yeah.
bHaptics Hub app, which is for PSVR 2. So I don't know why they don't label that PSVR 2, or it's really confusing how they decided to segment their apps. They should be one app. Please change that, bHaptics. And at very least, you've got a lowercase h on one and an uppercase h on the other one. Be consistent with your branding, please. With bHaptics.
They should also make one of those colorful ghillie suits, like you see in Beat the Beats. Send that to some creators because I'd love to see some videos on that.
Dude, that thing looks sick. I wish I had one of those. Those look so. You
sweaty.
mean like it's is it rainbow? It's like rainbow, right?
Yeah, I'm showing it on the screen right now. It's like a rainbow ghillie suit kind of thing.
Yeah, I would sweat so much in that thing.
Yeah.
I've been there. I did Beat Saber in a full body green suit, and man, you come out of that like the swamp man. I'm telling you, you are dripping from everywhere. Anyway, okay.
Ultra limp.
A limb swole man.
My favorite kind of man.
I think we saw that with Tyson already. Anyway, let's go. Next up, I'm going to tell you about a couple of game updates that I think you'd be interested in that maybe you didn't catch. This one is first Ghost Town. Ghost Town, great name for a game. It's from The Room devs. You guys know The Room? The puzzle kind of room escape game that started off on mobile, eventually migrated to VR systems, and actually won loads of applause. That was, of course, before the Seventh Guest came in and I think stole the show a little bit. But The Room devs are at it again. So this is Fireproof Games developing a single-player VR puzzle game that's looking very nice indeed. Like the environments that are showing off in this are pretty cool. You play as a ghost hunter. And this lady's, I don't know, hunting down. This is just a teaser trailer, so I can't tell you much about the game. But you're a ghost hunter in this town, bunch of rooms, and I think it's going to be great. Coming to PSVR 2, Quest, and PC VR. It's one of those games that you see it, and because of the pedigree of The Room, which started you off in this fun Egyptian puzzle, it's an instant wish list. for me, honestly, on this one. So look forward to seeing more. It is interesting, though, that they decided to go for this particular theme, given, as I said, Seventh Guest, I think, really wowed us with like some of the volumetric capture and the puzzle intricacy and just the general quality of the Seventh Guest. So if you're waiting around for this one, catch up with The Room maybe first. Then a few years later, we got Seventh Guest, and then wait for Ghost Town to drop sometime soon. They say soon. I don't know if that means before Christmas or not. We'll have to keep an eye out for Ghost Town.
It was co-op, or I know we have a lot of like Phasmophobia clones already, but like you can do those games solo too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, if anyone who's played Phasmophobia knows it's pretty janky, and you know there are quality concerns with that. So the quality in this title looks great, and so I see why you're asking for it, Adam.
I want a non-crappy knockoff.
Non-crappy knockoff.
Non-crappy knockoff of the original crappy one.
Come on, Debs, get on it. All right. Speaking of that, I love developers. And so one of the developers I'm a big fan of is bringing us a new VR chat game. Like I said, The Devouring. Yakuza was one of the geniuses behind The Devouring, which was a 6-hour horror game that Mike, Nathy, Rowdy, and I undertook and did. And the fun part about that was that you had to complete it in one sitting. If you came out, you lost your progress. So we had to knuckle down and take it in 6 hours. We did beat it in like 6 hours, 15 minutes or something. Anyway, there's a new one now, 8 hours long, by solo dev here, Yakuza, who's known for making amazing contributions to VR chat. Things like, Jose,
Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio. Thank you. You read my mind. Like Jet Set Radio, bringing that universe in. Very, very nicely composited VR chat world to check out. This is going to be it's primarily a single player action adventure, but you can bring friends along. But it kind of plays best because your progress is limited to you. So say Jose takes 10 minutes to beat the boss, but takes me 20 minutes. He's going to have to wait around for me. So probably best experienced in the first playthrough as a single player action adventure. It's got bullet hell, good combat, platforming, puzzles with time manipulation. Looks really, really cool. And from a single dev, you look at this, even the quality of the trailer, you look at it and go like, how are these, one-man band style people able to actually deliver stuff? And I don't understand. Like, that's just too much talent in one person. AI, that's right. That's right. The whole thing.
Nah, Yakuza truly is a one-man army. Like when I see this stuff, what I immediately think about is, I hate bringing up a different platform, but I think of Horizon Worlds. VR chat is proving that there will be a point where why would you even develop a
You're fuzzy, Jose.
Hopefully maybe it's my hair because I'm my AirPods. Is that better?
Yeah, that's funny. Your hair does that?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
that's a superpower.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, my hair creates anti shield. Nobody can see what I'm thinking or see, but or hear. But
privacy filter.
It's a privacy filter. Yeah, but I wanted to mention that Yakuza proves actively through his work that there will be a point where maybe developing or targeting a specific hardware, it just makes no sense. That's a thing of the past, and that's the argument that I've been trying to convey to a very active argument that was happening last podcast that we missed. The community was very upset about Meta making specific store changes where they're prioritizing Horizon Worlds and Horizon experiences over applications that are designed for the Quest. And Yakuza is a great example that there will be a point where there will be high quality, accessible, virtualized games that you just don't need to install. It's just Horizon Worlds at the moment isn't mature yet, but take VR chat as the North Star of what Horizon Worlds is striving to get towards and is getting towards really fast.
Yeah, it's definitely heading in that direction. And with the amount of attention, money, and again, storefront, they have made it very sweet for devs wanting to develop in that. I completely agree with you. And in case we didn't cover it on a previous podcast, I think that Meta essentially shafting all the developers on their platform by putting the storefront being, Horizon Worlds up front. And like the first thing that you see is completely wrong. I completely consider that unjust, to be honest. I don't honestly think that that's necessary either. I think they feel it necessary to build in that way. And now that we've got 2D apps coming in addition to the VR stuff, it's kind of only going to get worse for devs in terms of discoverability. Yeah. And I worry about the long-term consequences of studios shutting because they got. It's kind of the analog to this is when you have street work going on, and your local bakery gets shut off, and they make it awkward to go into the bakery. All of a sudden, their business is like not making the money it used to, and it's just cutting off the lifeblood. And all of a sudden, that business is no longer there. And it's like you can only do that for so long. So I do believe, from what Meta have said, that it's a temporary plan to kind of funnel everybody here so that they can pump it up and get it the starting kindling fire spark that it needs. So I understand why they're doing it. I still think I still don't like the move.
My counter argument to that is, imagine if the bullet experience that the Yakuza released was playable. Bullet Time Major was 1-to-1 accurately running on Horizon Worlds. I think that experience, including the Jet Set Radio, are worthy to be on the top of those lists if Meta does go with let's prioritize internet-based or world-based experiences and games, because then the developers that you're talking about will be able, if you look at VR Chat's tools and how they're maturing, there will be a point where maybe they will be the same development style, they will run the same way, and if you can just port the games to the cloud, it's no longer an installation.
For you, Jose, there, because I saw Janus VR try to do that ages ago, where they're like, we're gonna have a portal to a game or a world or whatever, and we saw it spin off in all these individual apps. But it feels like to me that you really want everything to be interoperable, and I don't know if the platform owners want that. Is the real question. But like, if you could have a portal to Yakuza's game, a portal to Rec Room Paintball, a portal to some VR chat, other world, a hangout world, a comedy lounge or something, and Horizon World, all kind of feeding from the same plate, so you could just kind of walk and go to like a mall, like go to the places you want to go.
And to be honest, in interoperability, that will be a far off dream. I let's just talk about centralizing to the ecosystem. Like it could just be Horizon Worlds only experiences, but the tools that you're using to create these games might be exactly the same tools that you're using to make a local game that runs on the Quest. I truly believe that there's going to be a moment where, why would you develop for it to run on the headset locally when you can just port it to the cloud and everybody can access it immediately? My end goal here would be Game Pass, cloud Xbox Game Pass, where you can just press a game and start playing it. Yeah. I truly believe that there is a point where VR experiences and games will be as seamless as that. You just press a game and you're in.
They just need the translation layer, kind of like the example you gave earlier, where you're like, I can just get to my Steam Deck in my AVP this way, and I can interface with it. Yeah. Similar. Two details I missed to mention earlier, which I should have. So this around 8-hour experience is available in VR chat, primarily PC VR. Okay, it's coming out November 22nd. So that's when it's officially launching. It does have the ability to save or load, so you can actually progress as you wish. Part of me is like, I kind of like the hardcore nature. I like the challenge of like having to do it all in one run, but it is 8 hours, and most people can't do 8 hours in VR. I recognize. So save load is a good feature for everybody.
Yeah, you're one of the rare weirdos who goes and streams for multiple hours on end, like a strange person.
Like a strange limp person. And then if you do beat the game by yourself in single player, this is a really cool mode. And back to the whole like me golfing with my brother idea. Say you want to, watch your friend play through the game and kind of participate with them. There's a tourist mode that you unlock that allows you to walk along the world without worries about like you getting killed by an enemy or something. You can just hang with them while they're going through the playthrough experience. Pretty cool.
That sounds
I want
awesome.
to do that with people playing. I just want to just hang out and just do that with people.
Like, like in MMOs, how like, I've already completed this quest, but then you'd still have to fight them. And even if they're low level mobs, it's kind of annoying. I love the tourist mode idea. It's really, really cool. Yeah. It's like, I've been there, done that.
They should call it a backseat driver mode. I want to backseat drive people playing the game, just talk trash. Yes. I want to hackle. I just want to just hackle people. Yeah. Hackle.
That is beautiful.
Hackle VR.
So anyway, if you got any particularly cool VR chat worlds that you really like, throw them in chat or in the comments if you're watching this back, because I'm always looking for stuff like that. I think I'm going to drag my wife along, and maybe we'll try to tag team this in a small team and see how that plays out. Seems like a good thing for couples to do. Go do a bunch of platformy, puzzly stuff, and I'll drag her through a bullet hell. She probably won't like that, but we'll give it a shot. Anyway, with that, one more little game update for you that in case you missed it, it's important to know because this is a major feat and it's something I've been begging VR devs to bring for ages. And I think I sent you something for this, Rowdy, so you should be able to show them something. This is about cross-save. So No Man's Sky has brought cross-save. There's up to 5 saves in a cross-platform storage in the cloud. It includes Steam, so PC, PCVR, PlayStation, which is including PSVR 2, Xbox, and Nintendo on their Nintendo Switch. You can play with a common save file. It's pretty cool because there's so many times where I get a game that's given to me by a dev on Steam and then on Quest, and I'm like, where, like after the fall, I unlocked all this cool stuff and after the fall, and then I'm on the go and I'm like, I don't have my cool toxic shotgun anymore. I feel sad. Like, I know this is a difficult technical problem. Hello Games, thank you for battling this and also for raising the bloody bar. Because once someone does it, then it becomes like an industry standard and it becomes a thing where if you're a double or triple A game, it's like, oh, we have to have that because that's now a new standard. So I'm hoping that will eventually find its way to VR so we can do that as well. Switch is included, Arcanian. Yes, it is. Okay. But the concerning part in the terms and conditions text was they said, we reserve the right to stop supporting this feature and to delete your save files that are in the cloud. And I'm like, I put 3 years into my No Man's Sky. No, you feckin' are not deleting my shit. Thank you very much. So, caveat emptor, please do go cautiously forward with this feature. You may want to back up a save file because even a mission, right? Like out of sync with what your real reality is, man, that blows. If anyone's had to go backwards with game saves, generally speaking for me, the game is dead to me then. It's like, yeah, that's it,
Mm-hmm.
So that's cross save. A lovely new catchphrase. I hope that becomes commonplace for us in VR. With that, let's get on to the main part of the podcast. Major game releases and talking about things that we've played, we've seen, we've, looked at oddly from a distance and said, So the first one up, let's talk Batman Arkham Shadow. First off, I want to say, Adam, fucking awesome thumbnail you put together today, but also terrible thumbnail because you fused 2 games that I'll tell you in a minute because of my feedback. I wish that in terms of what that you can do in both of the games was combined because I'm so frustrated with Batman, and I will tell you why in a second, but you embodied that perfectly in the thumbnail in the game that I really wanted to be playing that unfortunately is 2 different games. So first off, Batman Arkham Shadow, who here has played it or watched enough that they feel like they played it?
I definitely played
Jose?
it.
I'm ashamed of myself. I need to play it. But I know it's going to take up, I know I'm going to like it. And that's what scares me. I know it's going to take up time. Like it is.
Yeah,
I'm writing it on your report card, Adam.
I know. I feel terrible. Like I keep putting it on my list of like, just play Batman. But I'm like, no, but these games are shorter and I know I can finish them. And again, it's not because I don't like Batman. That's the problem is I know I'd like it. And then I would just not do anything else.
Yeah. It's a workout. It's definitely a workout. You definitely, that's one thing. Yeah. That's one thing I knew it was going to be a workout, but I didn't expect how much of a workout it's going to be, especially when you get really into it and you start thinking like Batman and making Batman sounds. You can
tell us how many hours are you, Jose?
Can you make a Batman sound first before you can do it? What is a Batman sound? Go ahead, Jose.
I just go
just
like,
for the audio listeners.
Like just make my voice growl, I don't, you have to catch it live, I have to get into the mood, to put on the headphones, put on my VR, my VR cape, I can't play without it.
So what did you think? Like going into it, what was your reaction? How deep are you into it? No spoilers, of course, but
yeah, I'm trying to be careful. I'm halfway through. They just revealed the main bad guy. It's. I don't know if you guys ever played the Batman Arkham Asylum original games, which are corridor-based exploration. Metroidvania, I think is the term that they call it, where you have to use a specific tool to get through, and you have to go back and find those weapons. It's very much along that. and they nailed the tone, the experience, the atmosphere. The characters are realistic. There's a certain point early on where you get to go on the top of a watchtower and you meet Gordon, the commissioner, and you have a 1-to-1 conversation with him, and you see him walking around pulling his cigarette, and it feels like you're actually playing Batman. Like the people who designed this game really wanted you to feel like Batman, all the way up to the way that you walk around. You feel like you can actually see your shadows swiveling side to side, and you see the cape. It really makes you, it makes you actually like really get into the mood as if you're Batman. It's super fun. But it's a workout.
How to help me, or maybe not help me, how many hours have both of you put into it? So I could get a sense of scale and prep.
I'm about 2 deep at the minute, which is apparently the least fun part of the game. Apparently it opens up quite a bit later. So very similar to Asgard's Medal of Honor, where like the first parts, the setup part of the game is kind of either annoying or tutorial, or it feels like you're walking with gum in your shoe a little bit.
Batman's parents die.
No, it wasn't
that again.
It's not similar to the original VR game that we had a couple years back at all. It feels like a completely different game. You're launching straight into the middle of the story. The characterization part of it is probably its strongest suit. The best part of the game, now that I said that, just the combat is so tight. Like, if you liked Asgard's Wrath combat, although I'm going to call it button sequence, but don't let that taint you, right? Like, it is, if you did button sequence combat right and made you feel like Batman. Like, if you remember the Vader Immortal series in VR, where you saw Vader and he's this big heavy guy with the big cape, and actually that's Jose just dressed up for Halloween.
That was Zim's Batman voice there.
I love it. That's so great.
It's too limpy for me. I couldn't.
Jose's Batman.
You really feel like Batman. In particular, one game mechanic which I love, and I initially was like, there's no way this is going to feel good, is what I'll call the invisible punch, or the side punch. So if there's a guy who's coming at you from behind, or the left or the right or something, like there's bad dudes coming at you, and you're already punching up this dude in front of you, you get a little icon, and it kind of alerts you to the fact that something's coming. And all you have to do is just like punch out to the side, like in a real cool dude style. It's just like, I'm just going to hit you. I don't have to look at you. And you will automatically like spin snap in front of that character and be punching them. And then you can continue with whatever it's asking you to do, like hammer down on their shoulders or punch them in the face or all kinds of things. So it feels really, I'll call it manly. You feel like a gorilla almost. And those are the motions that I think Jose's talking about as being a workout. I actually find I probably wouldn't classify it as a workout as much. Like, you're definitely physically involved. But to me, one of the main gripes I have with the game is it's very much, I feel like I'm opening like a sour head candy and having the sour head, and then I go to the next thing and I open that and I have that. So I'm having little enjoyable moments, but it is not a contiguous flow. In fact, it's very arcadey. It's kind of like, start your combat, and then you finish your combat, it gives you a score, and you move on with the game. So whilst it's true to kind of the original formula of the flat games, in VR, that interruption isn't annoying, but it's also not what I look for in a game. Like, I want to forget that I'm in a game. I want to be in the world. I want to just kind of do what I want to do. And the biggest ball ache for me is actually, as you're getting into the game, and for those who know like Batman and lore and all this, I'm not a huge Batman fan. Just to caveat my reactions here, but like, when I kill somebody or when I knock someone out who's carrying an assault rifle, and I can't pick the assault rifle up and shoot somebody with it.
You're Batman, bro.
Not the Batman way.
It pisses me the feck off. I'm like, I'm not Mr. Humanitarian in games generally. I am not a nice guy in games. And I just want to pick the gun up and shoot somebody. It's like, he's like, sorry, I can't. I'm too flowery. I'm big pussy. Like, it's just.
Why does he have an Indian accent?
Is a Russian Batman that you're playing? Like, what is this like?
Like Indian Russian.
Wow.
What version
Zim
are you
really wants to play Taken in VR by Liam Neeson.
So what
Stu's
Adam
playing a
did in the
completely different
thumbnail,
game. A completely different game.
Yeah,
what Adam did in the thumbnail, right, is it's Batman with the Hitman guy under the mask, right?
Yeah.
That's the game that I want to be playing. And it's sad because Camouflage from Republic, which I loved on my Oculus Go, to Iron Man, which felt the most freeing, like it felt like a technology cheat on PSVR 1. Like you didn't realize you were having to point to a single front-facing camera anymore. You felt free to turn around, which was magic. Like each of Camouflage's games have been expert level awesome. So I was not expecting anything less than awesome, and they do deliver it. My only problem with the game is it's not my kind of game. It's too follow the story, follow the breadcrumbs, do your punching, move on to the next thing, and it gets really frustrating for me when I can't do what I want to do in a VR.
I would like to defend it a little bit because I truly believe that game could have been.
I am.
It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been designed differently. I do agree that there is a sense of, okay, I'm about to enter a fight moment here. And after that, I'm gonna go back to exploration. But that's truly what Batman's all about. Like Batman, the concept of Batman is a detective storyline that happens to have scenes of action and without death involvement. But
without that, I know that's the canon thing. Like I get it. I get it. And
but he doesn't want it.
I'm only 2 hours in. So I'm open. Like I was with Gran Turismo 7 when I first played the first 2 hours of that game. Like I am open to loving this game later, but right now I have to be honest. If I was getting to the 2 hour refund thing and I paid full price for the game, I'd be returning it.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But what did you love about it? What are the things that you loved?
And I wanted to push back on that. Like, I'm definitely not the most in shape, but it is a workout, right? That when you are punching and you're playing it in hard mode, and it's making you hit these combos in very exact precision, and there's also a timing aspect here. That's why it's unfair to call it a rhythm game, but it is a rhythm game.
I would agree.
Also, the traversal between opponents requires a physical effort, right? So as you mentioned, you punch to your side and you snap in. There could be another NPC enemy behind them, and in order for you to move to that enemy, you do have to swing a fist. So it uses your fist as momentum.
Is it kind of like until you fall? I think Buck
Correct.
mentioned like until you fall, where you get those little indicators, and that's how you know what to do at that moment.
It's smoother than Until You Fall. I felt like Until You Fall was like the mirror's edge of that type of combat, where if you didn't hit the combo right, like you lost your momentum, and it was a bit didn't feel good. It felt like I messed up my sequence, and a bit more like VR Skater, if I'm getting that right, where you screw up and you have to learn the game and its methods. That's how somehow Camouflage made it so that it does feel timing precise. I do think if you had any kind of physical handicap, you'd be locked out of playing this game for that reason, and that's kind of sad.
I agree.
But they make it feel fluid, so you don't feel like, I fecked up and now I've lost my fun.
Up.
They kept the fun somehow, and that's magical.
Yeah.
So.
And they're not afraid to break the simulation of it all, right? There are certain things that you end up doing as Batman in the combos that you're not physically doing, but it feels so satisfying to see. For example, there is like a you did a good combo kind of finisher where you grab the enemy and you power slam them.
The power slams are so fucking good, man.
You feel the intensity. You see the airlines when you lift them up and you slam them. They definitely focus a lot more on making you feel like Batman than actually building a good game. And I feel like maybe that's where you see the disconnect, Zim, because I do agree when you go from exploration to combat, it's two different game mechanics.
Yeah,
they're fighting
it's
with
like
each
two
other.
different modes. I think it's good though. I mean, so far I wouldn't say that it's that the pacing is off or like it's good. I just know the kind of games that I like, and it's like you look at it. I look at it in a very similar way to like Half-Life Alyx, where you're like, I can recognize that's a very, very well built game, and people are gonna love this. The people who love Batman are gonna fucking love this because you feel like Batman, and it makes you feel like you just stepped into like a WWF or I guess WWE ring. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like a WWF game.
WWE, give me a VR experience. That's exactly it. I mean, you guys heard me talk about VR games and my kind of interest. This is not a game that I would find fun. And I think it was the Batman aspect of it all that convinced me to really get into it.
Oh,
So I don't know. Maybe there's something there that you really have to embody somebody iconic in order to like be convinced to try these kinds of games. Because it's definitely, and also granted, I was not going to buy it. I got it for free with my Quest 3S.
yeah.
So that's also an important note. I definitely don't see myself buying this game after, if I watch video footage of it, I do agree it would have been a game I purchased myself.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's move on to the second half then of that. Unless, sorry, Adam, did you have any other thoughts or guilty admissions
I'm
related to
always-
Batman?
I will play it. I swear. It's on my long list.
Good. Okay, so the next one, and this is a bit of an older title now, like it's a couple of months out the gates, but there was a major patch for it, and I played it post-patch. And a lot of people shat on this game, Hitman 3 VR Reloaded by XR Games. And I've been kind of hard on that studio in the past. I've actually spoken with the head of the company, their CEO, recently.
I speak to your manager.
That's right. But it was after. It was after I put a tweet out and I said this. I said, look, graphically, think Grand Theft Auto 3, like the original 3D implementation of Grand Theft Auto, which didn't look great. If you remember, like it was very basic. It almost felt like N64 level graphics to some extent. So if you think about that running on like a Quest, right? And I played on Quest. But gameplay wise, think more like GTA 4, GTA 5. In other words, large sprawling levels, lots of crowds, lots of people interacting, lots of scope for you to be able to do what you want and play it out as if you all of a sudden created a first person shooter in a Sims game, for example. The levels are large and how the crowds react to you is really amazing, particularly when you're being not a nice guy, which I love being in video games. Love it. So the role-playing aspect of it, being able to go in and, I'm just going to say it, like I beat 2 maids to death with pieces of meat that I pulled out of a soup pot and, just beat them to death and then alerted all these people. They ran off, crawled up into the attic, pulled out a sniper rifle, started taking pot shots in crowds. They'd scream. You'd hear the screams come up. They'd all be running around chaotically. And then the areas that were populated would clear out because people had run to other places. Like it maintained that storyline, which I was kind of creating for myself on the fly. So anyway, what I'm saying in a nutshell is Hitman 3 VR Reloaded for me was super fun. I had 10 flat out hours of just loads of fun. The game looks trashy, right? It's aliased all over. Things are screwy. But the way the game played post-patch, because I didn't play it pre-patch, was great. I had loads of fun. And if you're somebody who likes kind of dumb fun but do what you want style, I'm preaching to people who might have liked my feedback on Medal of Honor years ago, then actually there's fun in this. And it's so fun that there's an IO Games game coming out for PSVR 2, which is a different variant, but it's a PSVR 2 adaptation of Hitman. I couldn't be more excited for that now because it was just so thrilling and I could see myself replaying and all that kind of stuff. But I'm kind of surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at the feedback that people generally gave the game, but if you find a game fun, then what more do you need? And so that's the end for that one. So I think there is something there. If somebody likes, like me, you're a good dude in real life, and then you're a real bad dude when it comes to games, then that's probably a game for you. So the games like Batman, right? I'm playing that, and I'm like, I just don't feel like I can do the things I want to do in this game. Hitman is the collars come off the dog. You can you can kill dudes, whip into their outfits, and then just like walk by and like, hi, ma'am, and then turn around and see the next hostess and throw her off a 3,000-foot drop, in Dubai. Like the whole thing is just.
I need to give it a shot. I didn't try it based on reviews, but then I ended up getting a key later on after they did some updates because I think they were like, we're just gonna stop giving out keys until we fix some things. But I haven't tried it since. But I'm like, all right, maybe it's been enough time where they've made some changes.
Right. Get past the first 2 levels, the level with the boat, the tutorial stuff, get past that. And then I think you'll start to have fun. But really cool dynamics and interactive levels. Yeah, you can really play those games how you want to play them, which is the thing I like a lot. So that was that. Okay. And no one else here has played Hitman yet.
Not yet. No.
So do your homework. Let me know if you get a chance. If you need a key, hit me up. I'll ask. I'll ask the guy I know. Next up, Metro Awakening by Vertigo Games. So I remember, Rowdy, we went to Vertigo's headquarters for their 10th year anniversary. That studio seems to be doing pretty darn well. They've got a lot of cool things out. So just to talk about that, Metro Awakening. All right, who else played it? Adam?
Yes.
Maybe?
I
Yes.
was going to ask Jose if he played it yet. Okay.
Please. I bought it. I own it. I purchased it. My employee took my literal controller battery, so I haven't been able to play for that reason.
I want you to play so bad because it's not a spoiler, but there are parts that are kind of scary in it. Like, and I know you don't like scary because it's just dark, and there's the mole rat thing. Any of the creatures that come out at you when it's dark. So I'm very curious. I really want Jose to play it. So
I want to see it. I want to see Jose play it. I really want to. Didn't you say something about streaming it? Yeah, stream it, dude. I will watch you. Literally, in my first run, which was a couple of hours. How much did I play? 4 hours or something. I had, I think, 10 jump scares. Like that's
not jump scary. It's more like apprehensive, atmospheric. And
Jose is already backing out. He's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this.
I'm gonna do it. But
the atmosphere is solid. It makes you feel good in the place. I have a big gripe with that kind of game, which is, oh my god, it's linear. Like it's just so linear. There's no
Metro games were linear though. Like
they were.
It's a Metro system.
I played them, and I understand. That's cute. We're on rails. We're on rails.
Literally,
some of them go around.
But I have to say, I heard people like comparing it to Half-Life Alyx, and it's like it doesn't meet that pedigree as far as I've played. But weapons are really satisfying, like you said, Adam. The rats, I don't know why this is the year of the rat or something. We got Batman with the rats, and now we got the Metro with the rats, and Spatial Ops. We've got squirrels in my backyard, so they're rats, but just friendly. So I don't know. Weapons are good. I could freewheel in Metro, unlike in Batman. So in other words, there's parts where they're like, "Hey, you got to be super quiet. You got to sneak around like you're." What was his name? Sam Fisher Price? No, Fisher. What am I saying?
Fisher Price.
Sam Fisher.
Yeah, right.
Sam Fisher, not Fisher Price. And then you move from that mode to I'm a psycho son of a bitch in Hitman. Like you can switch between those modes, and so you can just grab a gun and just gun down people. It's harder, but like you can do it. And so this is a game which, despite its linear nature, the combat and the engagement element of it did feel free. And so that's what I'm liking about it so far. Adam, so what have you liked about it? I don't think I heard that, or you were saying. So how far are you in it? I'm just curious because I don't
finished
know how long the game is.
I completed it.
Cool.
So it took me about 11 hours, and I didn't. There's like little postcards you can collect, but I didn't. And also, it's really hard. Those like blend in with the environment really well. I don't know. I'm not a big collectibles person anyway, so it didn't matter much to me. But I really enjoyed it. And I appreciated that even though it's a Vertigo Games game, which usually they're cursed when it comes to those stupid tool belts, and you're trying to pick something off the ground, and you're like, I'm trying to pick up the thing, not my gun. So they were really great at making the weapons invisible. So it's only when you are really reaching, except for the healing vial. Sometimes I would try to reload, and instead of grabbing my ammunition, I would grab the healing vial. And I'm like, no, I need to reload like right now. But it's still better than it was with like Arizona Sunshine after the fall. So I will at least give them credit for that. But otherwise, great Metro game. Like if you've loved the Metro games, this fits in really well. Khan is just such an interesting character. So he's a great character that they could have picked for this, because I love the, his supernatural weirdness about him. I wish that you could have weapon switching your big weapons is extremely annoying, because you have to take out a backpack, pick one, and then that's going to be your primary. The only way to switch is if you take that backpack out again and hope that you pick the right one. So you can have
I didn't know you could have multiple. Okay.
Oh no!
No, I'm not that far. I've only gotten past rifles, I'll call it. But
yeah. So if you wanted to use like two guns during a firefight, it's going to be like a big weapon, a rifle or whatever, or your handgun. So you can't really, in the middle of a firefight, bring out your backpack and be like, I want this one very easily. So that's the only other gripe.
And it worked really well. I used a gun stock. One of the ones with like a mag connect grip, because like, yeah, when you've got the equivalent of a Kalashnikov or whatever, like an AK-47, worked great for aim and taking headshots and stuff. And
the only other thing I think for me was also, I know, I was using this on the Vive Focus Vision. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I know. Well, I was trying to test out the headset more, and it was a sponsored thing. But at least in that particular headset, the darks were really dark, and because like you do have the headlight, but you don't want to use it. Yes, it was on. Anyway, you have a headlight, but during stealth missions, you don't want it on, like because the enemies can see your headlight. So sometimes if I had it off, I just literally couldn't navigate because I couldn't see. So there is a brightness option, at least in the Steam version, to up the brightness.
It's a really interesting thing because and it's important for anyone who's trying to create content with that, because it's quite a dark game, but also your head torch is the smallest circle I've seen in a flashlight in a VR game. You're like, really? It's like, I can't see very much. And there is a mechanism, and I won't spoil it because it's a fun game mode, but the way that you recharge it or whatever to kind of like
a Metro well-known thing. It's with the crank.
Yeah, it's a Metro, the crank. Yeah.
Okay.
I live and breathe those games. I love those.
You just crank that, and you end up with like that wider spear for a little bit. And I've always noticed that like I just don't see it. It just like closes it on me, and then before long I'm like, wait, why am I looking down this tiny pipe again? And my light's about to run out. So it feels very claustrophobic, but in a good way. Like it fits the story, it fits the feel. There were even places where I would say that it felt cold. I don't know if it was the lighting temperature or what.
So if they brought that, I'm assuming also the air filters are a thing.
Really cool.
I'm excited.
I think you're going to like it. But yeah, feck those rats. That's all I'm going to say. Feck those rats, because
there are some kind of scary moments in it.
I literally jumped.
They play this.
Oh man, I'm
so excited.
But
if you've played the Metro games, I think you can get through it. It's just the like playing it in VR hits different,
Yeah, that's the yeah. Actually, I that's one thing that I wanted to bring up earlier when I mentioned watching the Submerge on Apple TV. I don't really get affected. Well, I avoid them, but I don't get affected by jump scares a lot. But in VR, it's a whole different beast. It's yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. Hopefully I don't piss my pants.
I think it'll be good. Well, if you do, make sure you record it. That's all.
Yeah.
Just wear brown pants.
Yeah, I might stream it. That sounds fun.
That sounds great. So that was Metro Awakening by Vertigo Games. That was super fun. Okay, on to a couple of others. The next one is Arizona Sunshine Remake, because I'm aware that there's a bunch of people out there who never got a chance to play Arizona Sunshine, and they just remade the game, repolished it, rebuffed the visuals. Some of the game systems are a bit better. This is pretty good. Anyone else play that? Arizona Sunshine Remake?
Not the remake, because I was like, I've played the first one and I liked it. It's just, I
think it might feel fairly slow at this point, though, like because it's such a more narrative
methodical
experience.
Game. All right, so let's talk Arizona Sunshine Remake. So I think what we just concluded was no one else has played it. Adam, you've played the original, just like Rowdy. Jose,
I played the original.
Okay. So we've all played the original. I played maybe about an hour's worth of Arizona Sunshine Remake, and I would say graphical upgrade is pretty pleasant. If you went for like the upgrade where you had it on a platform, you paid $10 and you got this, that's nice. I would agree with Adam's remark that co-op is a real strength for that game. I'm glad they did the refresh so that some people can kind of enjoy it. And to me, it kind of feels like a marketing stunt to some extent. In other words, hey, we put a lot of effort into Arizona Sunshine 2. Let's cross-sell by redoing our first game and then saying, did you like this? You could buy the second one, so that they get some more conversion. Actually, between the two games, I'd say Arizona Sunshine 1 is my preferred game. I like the first one rather than the second. Adam, you've played the second, I believe.
Yeah, but
Which one do you prefer?
I like the story. I think of the first one better, but I'm a sucker for that damn dog. I know it's like, just add a dog to a game, people will like it. I fall for it. But it was done really well. It was done really well in that game.
Yeah, to be fair. Buddy, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Buddy.
And they have a Corgi DLC where you can make him a Corgi, and it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, that's adorable.
That's crazy. like he's covered in blood on the face and the
muzzle. He's just all blood. It's just this little floof ball, and he's like jumping up like 6 feet up in the air, something crazy.
That's adorable.
1 foot off the ground. Yeah, it's a free DLC. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's free DLC. Yeah.
I might play that. That sounds awesome. That sounds adorable.
I feel
Yeah,
like they did that just for Sadly It's Bradley, because he's got a little corgi, doesn't he?
Smart.
That's funny. Okay, so that's Arizona Sunshine. We'll move on past that. Again, I might play more, maybe not. It's one of those like take it or leave it's. The last one in here that I think is really cool because they've finally hit the storefront, and this is another one by Resolution Games, is Spatial Ops. So Spatial Ops is a pretty neat like battle game, and what's new about it, if you played the beta before, was it used to be a multiplayer kind of, I'll call it like a Nerf or laser tag arena builder. So you'd build it in your home, out in a field or whatever, and then you'd play against however many headsets you had to play with. In California, they actually put together this party showing off 4v4 in a big warehouse. Really, really rad. I ran myself into like a plant pot or a table or something. I remember bruising my arm. But it was like, that's how into it I got. So when this was finally coming up to launch, I was really excited to kind of get a key and try it out, and played it with my wife. And I know you played with your husband, Adam. And it's like, the things I would call out about it are, A, they got really smart about levels, because now they've got templates. You've got templates that are like small, medium, and large. So you can literally just go, I'd like a medium level, please. Plonk, let's play, right? Like if you have an area with no obstacles, or in my case, we just like put an area map down. We've got a big tree in the middle of the yard, so we move some stuff around in the map editor. So it was very, very easy, like matter of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, customize a level, then you're ready to play capture the flag, point domination, or just like free-for-all deathmatch. And the bots aren't too bad either. Actually, the bots are a bit smarter now. They're a little bit more challenging than they were before. And the multiplayer aspect is really solid, I would say. They made some of the doors like slightly slimmer, so I think they'll work a little bit better in like European homes, for example, that are a little bit smaller. But it's really a backyard game with a Quest 3, Quest 3S, because they perform well outside, I would say. You could do it with a Quest 2, but Quest 2 is really finicky. You have to pick the right time of day in order for it to work, like dawn or dusk, and you get about an hour's worth of playtime. Then they had a campaign that they added. The campaign's really kind of bonkers. Did you play the campaign, Adam? I'm curious.
No, I didn't actually. I just did only multiplayer. Okay,
so let's finish talking multiplayer then. What was you and your husband's experience in multiplayer like?
It was suspiciously easy, I would say, to make make your own setup, because I do have the defaults like you said, but then I was like, nah, F that, I want to make my own. So I ended up making my own and spending like way too much time being like, oh, but then this team would have an unfair advantage because I put the barrier. I don't know. It was stupid. I spent way too much time in it in a good way. And we actually did team deathmatch at first, so it was just like us versus AI, and then eventually we did team deathmatch, but we were on different teams. And it's super fun. It did feel like I was a kid again playing like a Nerf battle, just running around and being stupid. Like it was really fun. But now I'm just like, I wish that we could get like a bigger group of us together in a location somewhere to have more people in a bigger area, because I mean, like my husband's fun, but it would be fun, obviously, with even more people running around.
It's incredibly good fun. So this is something that since we had Spatial Ops and Space Pirate Arena Land, I've wanted to create like a Toronto club where like a sports thing where you'd like host on a weekend, and the only entrance fee is basically you got to bring a headset and pay some entrance money, and then you basically exercise, but through playing games. And
so fun.
And like this game gives exactly that. And for $20, it's a very fair price tag, I feel, for what you get, because you get like $10 of fun out of the single player. I'll talk about that in a minute. And like $10 to play Nerf Wars with a spouse or a friend or whatever out in the field. Fucking amazing. Like it feels like such a deal. And the thing you have to know that they do a very poor job of saying that wasted us an hour is the game ignores your Guardian. You do not have to worry about your Guardian or syncing up your Guardian. None of that. It ignores your Guardian. You can draw a circle around yourself. You can do sitting mode, whatever. Doesn't matter. You get into the game. It goes, I don't care. You can be wherever you fucking want. And then you can go stand in the middle of the road, put up virtual barriers, and have a gunfight while cars are trying to take you out.
Can you save those layouts?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it remembers where they are, and it sticks.
Yeah, it's so good. And another thing is what I was worried about, because I was placing walls where our fences were, just because I was like, oh, wall. But then I was worried. I was like, oh no, is my husband going to appear behind the wall because it doesn't occlude well. But no, they've added the new occlusion, so he
Wow.
it like makes like a cutout of a person, so you could still see him in front of the wall. It's not the best,
And it
but
also
it's
warns. It also warns if cars are coming. So you can always jump out of the way.
That wasn't that risky. I don't know.
I wanted to add real quick to Zim, just for the sake of it. There are arcade VR specific arcades already are doing this. They are renting environments for you to bring your headset and play, which is good for people to know that because
okay. But the problem is they're large city centric, right? And so it's not. I can't say this statistically speaking, but the majority of the population who isn't in a big city or has access to that or can't afford to pay $50, $80, whatever it is to go play in that environment. Like, I just want to find a parking lot or a field somewhere and just get together with friends. Like, that'd be really cool. Also, just like kind of like a local club, right? Like people who get together to play paintball or airsoft or something like that. That's the kind of level that I was thinking about. But this one, that MR cutout is really weird. Initially, you used to have a full form VR player character overlay you. And I used to play with my kids. It was hilarious because the player character would like melt into the floor and their back legs would break and go back behind them. So they had these like broken soldiers running around with shotguns. It was so fun.
Come out of their misery.
That's right. Sorry, honey. You gotta go. But now that combination with using the point cloud data between headsets to mirror where you are, they give you, like, if Zim was, just imagine Zim wearing a bra right now, like it's a bra but it's armor, and it's shifted to the left or the right by like a few inches, so it looks really awkward. I mean, it's already awkward, but now it's extra awkward.
Anyone listening, it's a bra. It's a harness, not a bra.
You're gonna have to visually show me. I don't get what you're explaining. Can you find a bra that you can put on?
Like a tactical harness thing is what he's talking about.
Limp Zim wearing a bra. Where are we going? Like,
and then they've got this punch out, like Adam was describing, of a pass through image of your video feed coupled with that, and it's bizarre. So like I would see like half of my shifted wife's face out the side with her armor bra thing on, also shifted awkwardly, and you don't really know where to shoot. Then it's imperfect, right? And so I suppose my message to Resolution is, if it's going to be imperfect, maybe just decide or allow some customization. Like, let me either decide I want the full chest plate and the full face or whatever, or just the video pass through and no armor, and then just show me the gun in my hands. Like right now it looks really clunky.
For mine, it was synced a little better. Like, at least for my husband, it seemed like it fit on him. But I think it's like a one size fit all cutout. It's not like it's cutting out that individual person. It's just like, here's a cutout of what average people probably would fit in, and then it's like, this is the shooting area, is this specified cutout. So that was the one thing, is it's like sometimes he was cut out a little weird, but at least I would prefer that than him disappearing behind a wall that he shouldn't have because it's behind him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like, take what I can get, I guess, for now.
Yeah, and look, it's fantastic for what it is on the price and all that. Okay, let's talk single player real quick, and because I know we're over time here, so I'm going to try and wrap this. This is the last game we're talking, then we're going to kick over to Jose. So, Spatial Ops single player is a very detail rich, like it's a very, very good looking single player experience, kind of similar to what's recently launched called Last Stand by those devs who I think did Drop Dead and like had the zombies pouring into your house. So you're standing in a space, and it's kind of like I think it's a 2 meter by 2 meter, or maybe 1.5 by 1.5 square. And then on every face of that cube, there are portals, and you're kind of like a spatial agent. So you're like, you've got guns, just like you do in the multiplayer game, shotgun, sniper rifle, pistol, grenade, healing tube. Looking weird.
It is.
It's so weird.
How do I use this?
That's exactly it. Like, anytime they're like, what do I do with this thing? Like, usually, do I drink it? Do I throw it? What? The answer is you trigger it, you drop it, or you trigger it, you hold it, and it ebbs at you and you gain health over time. It's weird. Anyway, so it's a really fun kind of like Portal-esque game. Portal opens in front of you. Portal opens in your ceiling. There's agents appear up here or over here. And the game is kind of on rails. It's like an on rails shooter, kind of like a House of Dead type of thing. And so it'll like bring you along the way, and you're collecting objects and items while shooting bad guys. it's a good arcade shooter. It's a fun thing. It's kind of a throwaway for me because anytime I go to play that game, I'm going to want to play it with other humans. But the campaign is like, if you're, on your own and you hear all this buzz about this cool multiplayer game, well, at least you can get good with the weapons and kind of play this thing. It's probably even worth $20 just for the single player campaign, but don't expect anything amazing. Like, the story's pretty flat story. It's kind of a shoehorn into the game, but I thought the detail in the scenes was like really great. Like, the quality of the scenes were pretty amazing. They make your Quest 3 or Quest 3S really sing. In contrast to, say, again, Hitman, which was an alias pile of somewhat flaming garbage in the visual department.
I have one quick question about but you mentioned something about the boundaries being ignored. Does the game warn you about that when you launch it? Does the App Store? Okay. Because that's breaking my brain that they allow that to retail.
Thing, I'm surprised it's allowed as well, but it's so great. I'm glad. But the very first thing, they're like, it's your responsibility to look after your safety, and then that's it. They just say yes.
Hell yeah, go
meta. I don't think that's going to hold up in court, to be honest.
It's not.
But at least we get to play until, little Tommy goes under a bus. So,
but you know what? I had issues with that, though, because when I set my boundary and then I tried to make things outside of it, I mean, it could have been just this weird thing. But when I would step outside that section, then the floor would shift up a little bit once I hit past that.
Yeah, we had a weird floor shifty bug, too. I think it's just some kind of bug. So we had it outside of a certain area. It wasn't matching my boundary. So it's interesting that yours was a boundary trigger. Mine was when I was on the outskirts of what I had defined as level objects. In certain areas, it would step up by, say, 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
And in other areas, it would step down. And I didn't quite understand what was going on with that. It may be an automatic hill rise compensation, because when I first played this game, in a very funny clip with my wife and kid on the back and all that, we were on like a hill like this in Scotland. And so you would feel like your legs were disappearing into the ground as you were running up a hill. It was really weird. And then when you're running down, you felt like you were about to fall. It was not ideal play conditions.
Nope. Yeah.
Why?
But we managed.
I got nauseous thinking about that.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is, if that's intentional design or is that just a game bug that they're going to iron out. I hope they get rid of it, because it was annoying to see and it was also cheaty because the level would hop up and you could see past the barriers to where the person was.
Yeah, like underneath them. You could just
So, but yeah, I've got plenty of feedback for those devs. But again, Spatial Ops is great. Brilliant use of mixed reality. If you just picked up a headset, either 3 or 3S, take her outside, be careful with the lenses, buy this game. It's a must buy in my opinion, actually.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's Spatial Ops. Okay, with that's our main games done, and I will flip it to Jose, who's going to take us away now and tell us about all the releases as a summary after today's show. There you go.
All right. So first one I have is Trombone Champ Unflattened, developed by Flat2VR Studios. Trombone Champ Unflattened is a unique take on the VR rhythm genre based on 2022's hit 2D rhythm comedy game from Holy Wow Studios, where you must honk and toot through over 50 classic and unique musical tracks. So this is releasing on November 26th in Quest. Steam and PSVR 2 will be revealed very, very soon. It's releasing for $15, and there's a pre-order going on actually for £12, $15 US, and that's available on our Quest. You guys play this one?
I haven't played it, but I really it looks like the kind of game that I would really dig. What do you think, Adam?
It's so goofy that I love it. I love if I can bear it, I'll put it on as full blast as I can make it when I'm playing around my husband, just so he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why does it sound so terrible?" And I'm like, "No, I'm matching the lines. I'm doing really good, actually." But the songs that they chose to trombonify, I don't know what you would call it, or just some of them I cannot hear these songs in any other way now. It's just they have "Oh Canada," which cracks me up with the trombone. It's so bad that it's good. I love it.
I'm so angry that the game is not called Trombonify now.
Yeah,
now I'm more upset that they didn't think about that.
I think that's verb of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely beats Limp, that's for sure. Next game I have is Starship Troopers Continuum. I think we mentioned this one a while back. It's a mashup of Pistol Whip and Super Hot with fast-paced action and intense gameplay. That's releasing on Quest ecosystem and PSVR 2, releasing actually as of November 14th, out already, and PSVR 2 releasing on November 25th for $20 US. That's about 16 pounds.
Yeah, this is actually by the same devs who did the Hitman Reloaded. To me, it looked like something that a Helldivers player could enjoy, and I'm waiting to dive in and try it. But you said it was like, so is it it sounds like a totally different kind of game to what I thought it was, though.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting that this is their specific description of the game. So they mentioned Pistol Whip and Super Hot with fast-paced action and intense gameplay.
It is not like that.
Yeah,
I
that
don't know
does
where
not
they
sound
got
right
that
at all.
from.
Have they played those games?
I tried it.
Hopefully they made it, right?
Wait, hang on. Are you sure that's not Vendetta Forever?
Maybe that. Oh, that could be that one. That was a good game.
Possible, but this is the description for Starship Troopers Continuum. So.
All right. It seems like they also did Zombieland Headshots or Headshot Fever, which is a really cool arcade
They copy
game.
pasted the wrong description.
Maybe
the game is great though.
I'm looking at the YouTube description right now. So
Okay.
I don't know. I tried Starship Troopers. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and you liked Helldivers, so that's a bad sign for me.
I was going to say that. It's definitely not Helldivers at all.
Like, I like their XCOM sort of thing in that you take over, like, you're not one character, you just take over a trooper. Yeah, so you can, but then I also sucked, so I couldn't get them high enough to ever become citizen. And I never felt bad about it really either. I'm like, oh, just pick a new trooper or whatever, who cares? That one's dead. Next.
That's funny.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely give it a shot and see what I think. But thanks for the warning, Adam. Appreciate it.
Next one I have is Thrill of Fight 2. Releasing on November 21st. That's on Quest 2 ecosystem. No price listed yet, but it is definitely on early access. Thrill of Fight 2 is a sequel to, I think this is one of the old school original Oculus games, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, Thrill of the Fight was the boxing game from 2016 or 2015. It's really old. But I've been waiting eagerly for this one. I had no idea it was launching this month. That's great. I am now wondering, where is my Berrios DLC? I want to get into the skin of the guy who I was just watching.
Where's my Jake Paul DLC? Like we can finally beat him up.
Yeah, I don't want to play as
a legend, Jake Paul.
And his $1 million pants. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about that.
He had diamond-studded boxer shorts. I'm using all the wrong terms this podcast. Boxing shorts.
Boxing attire.
Boxing attire. Whatever. But all the strands of diamonds while he was fighting. Like they were a million.
You're gonna fight Mike Tyson, you're gonna dress your best,
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Bleed all over those diamonds.
Exactly. But yeah, that's Thrill of the Fight 2, November 21st. No price yet. All Quest headsets, including the 2. And the last one I have is one I really wanted to mention, Bounce Arcade. Wield your hands as paddles, guiding the ball through 4 immersive pinball worlds, each with their own challenges and surprises. Nudge the ball where you want it to go and pull the ball back to you, all for the ultimate skill shots. That's releasing on November 21st on all Quest headsets. That's about $20 US, $16. 16 pounds. And there's a pre-order going on right now for $18 US, 15 pounds.
Oh, the trailer is not like I imagined.
Yeah.
Based on the description. I love paddles and balls. Who doesn't?
It's a bit too much balls for me.
First-person pinball. There was one thing I didn't like is that, your hands are paddles, but they don't look like paddles. So they more look like plates that you're holding. But
this reminds me of Proton Pulse from the DK2 era.
Pulse.
Not Proton Balls. Proton Pulse was a game where you were basically playing Pong in a 3-dimensional area. So here it's basically like first-person first person, table.
Pinball?
Yeah,
sort of?
you're
Pinball.
inside a pinball table. Yeah, it looks really rad. I definitely want to play it.
Would be fun to play.
Mhm.
Looks not great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. The thing that I really want, though, after having enjoyed some, like around here, there's a lot of barcades where you've got a lot of arcade cabinets and literal arcades, right? Like Addams Family, Star Trek, all that kind of stuff. But there's a few of those, I think they're called Williams machines, that are really interactive pinball machines, and they are feckin' awesome. And I haven't yet seen a good virtualization come over to pinball. There was the Star Wars pinball game, which was really good. And by the way, was one of the first games that works if you're like laid up in a hospital bed and you have to lay down. It like worked really well.
A very specific use case. Great for hospital stays.
That,
Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
but it was one of the very few apps that worked in horizontal mode back when they didn't have that formally on the OS level. There were very, very few apps that did. But like, we need more pinball sims, is my opinion, because there's some really good pinball games out there. And with haptics where they are and the visuals where they are, I don't want to buy a pinball machine. I just want to virtualize it and have it in my house, like real ones.
So now,
like pay the DLC.
I do see now. I hate making this podcast a little bit longer, but I definitely want to mention this because you sounds like you like pinball games. Xenotilt. I feel so bad because I forgot the name of the
Is it
developer.
a VR game?
There is a VR option for it. It's a flat screen game. I recommend playing it in VR in flat screen, but highly recommend. It's called Xenotilt. It is a bullet hell game, but it has a pinball twist on top of it. It's
Would it be on Steam
phenomenal.
Or would it be?
It's available on Steam, yes. But yeah, XENO Tilt, Xenotilt. Highly recommend.
XENO. Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot, Jose. Appreciate that. All right, you want to give us a recap on those titles and prices? Thanks.
Absolutely. So Trumbo Champ on Flattened, releasing on all Quest headsets, $15 US, 12 pounds. Releasing on November 26th, Starship Troopers Continuum, all Quest headsets and PSVR 2, $20 US, 16 pounds, releasing on November 14th, PSVR 2 on November 25th. Third, we have The Thrill of the Fight, releasing on November 21st on early access on all Quest headsets, no price listed yet.
Thrill of the Fight 2.
Thrill of the Fight 2, sorry.
Yep.
And last one, Bounce Arcade, releasing November 21st on all Quest headsets, $20 US, 16 pounds. And that has a pre-order going on right now for $18 US, and that's 15 pounds.
Well, hot damn, Jose. That is a nice eclectic mix. I always like, man, we are getting a very good end to the year in terms of titles you can play, whether you like the kind of crazy indie stuff or the really like nice double AAA titles that are out there now for VR. We're getting a great end of the year. It doesn't matter what headset you've got, as Adam is, shown. Sorry, picking on your headset you're demoing. Can't even remember the name of it. What was the name of that headset you were
Focus
playing with?
Vision. I always mess up
Focus
too.
Vision.
Yeah. I'm like
Terrible
Focus Vision Pro Plus 2, 3.
Makes me sound like a parent.
XR2 Gen 7.
Anyway, that's another end of today's podcast. Thank you for participating with our what did someone call it earlier? Our scavenge hunt. Look for the stream segments today. This has been a bit of a mad live stream. Thanks for following along. Much appreciated. This podcast runs every 2 weeks, every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. We also ad hoc do gameplay sessions. So those are things you can watch out for roughly every quarter. Last time it was Human Fall Flat VR. That's on our channel as well if you want to go check that out. That was kind of fun. Thanks to Jose. Timestamps are following the live show. Sounds like he's going to be doing some glue and tape work as well. So thank you in advance for your work on that to stitch the podcast together for those of you who may be watching it back now. And a bit later on, Dr. Rowdy will operate on the patient and then let the audience listen to the surgically clean audio version on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify from his new techie dungeon. Chat, thanks to everyone for making the time, hanging out, listening to us. And not long now before Furniture Reality and our year-end Slido word piles. So I'm looking forward to closing out another successful VR chapter and drawing our community highlights out of all of that. So have a think about what you might want to contribute when we ask you some tough VR questions about the year just gone. That's all for today. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next FReality Podcast.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.